Hey, you guys, what's going on? It's Wednesday once again, and oh boy, have we got a fucking
Yeah,
rough one for you this
the
evening.
chick's fucking nuts.
Shit.
CB's asking, was she bad shit or was she evil? She's both.
I was like, why not both?
She's both, yeah. The bitch is just evil.
Yeah, this is like I said, this is approaching. Remember when we did the show about the murder of Sylvia Likens? This is kind of along those lines. I don't know if I'd say if it's well,
It's worse.
it's
Because
probably
it was her own, there
worse.
was more girls involved, and they were her own daughters.
Yeah. But it was a similar kind of thing.
Similar
Like I
kind of
feel
thing,
like
yeah.
she had similar like motivations. Like
Yeah.
I hate to do like the whole fucking, oppression Olympics or something like that. Like what crime is worse than another crime?
Yeah.
But like I said, this is kind of along those same lines. So if that one bothered you, then yeah, I hate to tell you, but this
Yeah,
one's
and-
really gonna bother you because this is super fucked
Yeah,
up.
she killed multiple daughters.
She killed two daughters,
Two daughters.
and she killed one of her husbands too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's why, only reason why, bigger body count, so worse.
Yeah, but like I said, similar
Yeah.
motivation, similar kind of shit happening.
Yeah.
I watched it earlier today just out of curiosity. Like I watched a lot of documentaries and shit like that about this. There was a movie made in 2010 called The Afflicted that was very loosely based on this story. It's on Tubi, so like I just watched it this afternoon just out of curiosity. I will say it is very loosely based on it. Like some of the events in there did happen the way they really happened, but a lot of it was not like that. They changed everyone's names. They kind of changed the location of it. And it's funny because Kane Hodder was in it, Jason Voorhees, from I think the sixth, seventh movie on, something like that. Friday the 13th. He was in it and he had like almost top billing, but he literally lasted like 5 minutes in the movie, like before he got killed. But you know what I mean? So yeah, so he wasn't in it that long. I didn't love the movie. I thought it was a little overwrought and I thought the pacing was kind of off. And like I said, don't watch that if you're trying to get like an accurate picture of what happened, because it's pretty so like I said, some of the events are kind of what really happened, but not really. And the ending is totally not what happened. They just went batshit crazy with that. That is not what happened at all. So yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you'd like it. I don't know if I'd recommend it or not. I didn't love it, but I was just kind of curious to see how close it was, and it's really not that close at all. But yeah. So yeah, like I said, this one is kind of a rough story. I had kind of heard about this. I think I was more familiar with the Sylvia Likens case just because I had read, Jack Ketchum's book a long time ago, and there were a couple movies made from that case too, The Girl Next Door, and I think there was one called An American Crime, which were considerably better than the movie that was based on this. And there's tons of documentaries about this. There was an Evil Lives Here episode about it. There was a Deadly Women episode about it. There was a Most Evil episode about it. So like a lot of true crime shows have covered this, because this one is like one of those cases that's like kind of beyond the pale, even though like this woman isn't really a household name, I would say. True crime people are just kind of like, yeah, we know that bitch.
One of the reasons why this one isn't known that well is because the shit happened. They even found one of the girls dead, and they couldn't figure out who the girl was. So they didn't know why the girl was there, who killed her, or anything.
Neither one of them were identified for like more than a decade, I think.
Yeah, and a girl came forward later and says, those girls are my sister and my mom killed them.
Yeah.
They didn't believe her. And she had a whole story, but it all backed up. All the evidence. She said,
it took like forever.
That one was cut in the back because like digging a bullet hole out of her. That she shot her a couple years before. It's wild. It was just this woman that was extremely killed one of her husbands. Again, super abusive to the daughters that she had, making them do shit, making them eat stuff, shooting them, cutting into them to get the bullets back out,
among other things.
Sexual abuse, just. Bad.
She had sons too.
Bad.
And she did physically abuse the sons, but it wasn't anything like the level that she that she did toward her daughters.
It was an evil queen type of thing. She thought her daughters were prettier than she was, so she wanted to destroy them.
Yeah, I definitely think that was a factor, which,
Yeah.
like I said, was also kind of a similar thing to what. And I'm kind of getting. Remember, we did a show a long time ago about Andrea Yates. Like, she was the one that killed her kids because
Yeah.
she was with that boyfriend and he didn't want kids, and she
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I have an idea." You know what I mean? Um, Similar kind of motivation to that. Although, like I said, I think this woman had a plethora of other fucking issues on top
Yeah.
of it. I think this woman was, I wouldn't call her crazy necessarily. I know that's not a
She's
technical
evil.
term, but she definitely had
Yeah.
some delusions, and I wouldn't call her necessarily psychotic because she knew what she was doing.
She's evil.
But yeah, I definitely think she was evil for sure,
Yeah.
but I think she had some delusions
Teresa,
also.
I can remember a lot about this case. I saw other programs on her a long time ago, and I have a very good memory. Even though I'm just comparing some notes, and some of the shit didn't line up. The chance was like, I didn't see that, but
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that
I
it didn't happen like that. I'm just saying I didn't see that
Teresa,
one.
from what I remember, when she was young, she was very thin and very popular and very beautiful.
Yeah.
She was kind of poor. The guys liked her. Guy started running through her. Husband started running through her, and she fucking lost it. And she had kids, and it started to fuck her up, and she turned everything on her daughters. Jealousy, she's just an evil bitch.
And I feel like it didn't really start. I'm not saying she was like mom of the year beforehand, but I kind of feel like the bulk of the abuse didn't really start until later, like until her
Looks started to fade.
fourth husband, fifth
Yeah.
husband. Yeah, like until her looks started to fade, like she started to get a little older and a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
And she wasn't really getting the attention from men that she had previously gotten, because she really, I have never seen a picture of her from it's weird because I've seen a couple documentaries just kind of like, that YouTubers made, and a couple people have put up a picture that they purport is her in her younger years, but it's not her. That's somebody else. So there's some confusion about that. So I've actually never seen, and you wouldn't know because the pictures that they've seen, like her mugshot and the picture of her now she's still alive. She's in prison, obviously, but she's 80 years old. So what she looks like now, it's hard to imagine like what she looked like when she was, in her teens and 20s, but evidently she was very, very popular and she was super pretty, and she just never had any problem at all like getting attention from men.
She
So
had pretty girl privilege.
yeah, and I'm not saying that she wasn't kind of batshit like back then too, because she absolutely was, as we will see.
Yeah.
But I think the bulk of the abuse toward her children, or the worst of it, didn't really start until like after her fourth marriage had broken up and she was a single mom. She had like 6 kids at this stage. Obviously kind of living in poverty.
Yeah.
She also had a bad alcohol problem, which I'm sure
That
exacerbated everything
including
too.
looks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that didn't help.
My source was the surviving daughter, but she's dead now. She
died in 2011. Sadly, she was quite young. I think she was only in her 40s.
In her 40s, yeah. I remember seeing a program where they interviewed her and she told the whole fucking story.
Terry was her name. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fucking wild.
Yeah, I mean, some of this is
yeah.
just like beyond belief. You know what I mean?
Her name was Terry. Is that
Terry, yeah. Well, her name was Teresa too, but they called her Terry.
Terry at the time of the interview was probably late 20s. She was tough as nails. Everything that girl went through, and she comes off as a street kid because she basically kind of was.
Yeah. She was in trouble with the law. She had problems with drugs, and I mean, not surprisingly.
She couldn't live in the fucking house, man. When you find out what they were doing, what they were doing to her, but no, she was extremely rough and sympathetic though. But I can understand how you might not believe what she's saying because
well, they didn't for a long time. It was
off the fucking wall.
Yeah.
But she came across a little. It sounds almost like a pathological liar making up a bunch of stories about extreme shit. No, that shit happened.
Yeah, they were able to corroborate it, but
and it kind of puts a different light on her. Her mannerisms are a little stilted and off. Like, but wouldn't yours be?
I mean, look at this shit. Like the environment she fucking grew up in, which is horrifying.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Bad fucking situation, and nobody helped her or the other ones that got killed. It was just, I don't remember where they lived. Do you remember what state that was?
For a while they lived in well, I know they lived in Utah for a while,
Okay.
like Salt Lake City. Although I think that maybe she moved there after. I think it was mostly California.
Okay.
It was mostly California, and then I think like afterward, I think they moved to Utah, or maybe just Theresa and one of
Yeah.
her sons did.
Yeah. And the mama, by the time, by it was a kind of it was a trashy family to begin with, even before all the abuse started.
Yeah, it was very
So
trashy.
you know what I mean? This wasn't happening in Middle America. It was happening in a fucking family that was just in fucking imploding. You know. But still, no kids should have ever gone to. She was doing this to just like innocent kids.
Yeah, and they didn't know any different.
They didn't know any different. Yeah, just
really.
Man.
And she, as she got older, like she had a couple sons too. And she basically, much like in the Sylvia Likens case, she basically like recruited the sons to like help abuse the daughters. Like the sons got abused too.
If I remember, they were kind of like the enforcers of all this shit.
Yeah, like the sons got beat and stuff like that too. But like, 'cause she used to beat them with boards and whatnot. But she mostly used them as kind of muscle or like kind of. Because the girls got the brunt of it for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's a pretty fucking horrible story, and
so that's the teaser. We're gonna get into details here.
Yeah, like I said, the movie that I watched, The Afflicted, which is it says it's very loosely based on it, and it is very loosely based. In that one, they seemed more like it. I don't even know where it was supposed to be set, but they seemed very much like it was supposed to be Texas or somewhere was very southern. Yeah. And super, super like churchy and stuff like that, which they weren't really. Theresa did go kind of like demons and witches like later on, but I think that was more delusion rather than being super like fundamentalist or anything. Whereas that's what I mean. So like in the movie, it was very much like the one, and she was like fucking a pastor and all this other kind of stuff, and like that didn't happen in real life. So I feel like they tried to make him more hick like in the movie, like more redneck kind of.
Mama was just mean and trashy.
Yeah, like this was a trashy family for sure.
Yeah,
like, well, she was trashy for sure. And like a lot of the dudes she married, I mean, not to be, but a lot of the dudes she married were not fucking great people either. Like a lot of them were also drunks and were also like abusive and shit like that.
One step away from prison. If they lived here in Florida, they'd be living in a hotel.
Yeah, or like out in a trailer.
Right, a trailer park. Out in a trailer park.
And like
covered with mold and mildew.
With a meth lab out in the back. Yeah, that would be the equivalent.
They're having gunfights out there with each other.
Yeah,
that happened just a few miles up here.
It did, yeah.
About a year ago. Big fucking shootout happened between the trailers.
Wasn't that a meth lab too? Or
it was a meth lab.
Yeah, I think it was a meth lab. Because I was just kind of like, that's got to be meth. That's probably what that is out here.
Yeah, the cops got them all.
Yeah.
Well, it was a meth lab, but one trailer started accusing the people in the other trailer of being pedophiles.
Yeah, that's right.
And it became a pedophile war.
Yeah, it was like a Hatfields and McCoys kind of situation. McCoy.
But I think there was meth going on too.
Eustace, y'all.
Well, no, this is actually a real nice area.
It is. Where we live is nice,
yeah,
but it's
nice.
like,
we live on a fucking golf course.
But in Florida, and I grew up in Florida, Lake County, which is where we are, is kind of known for being kind of rural and kind of trashy. Like, not all of it is, but it does have that kind of reputation.
It's got nice shit in it too.
It does have nice shit. It's a mixed area. It's a big county.
You see, here in the South, with our ethnic group, the Scots Irish, all throughout the South, going up through Appalachian, fucking even into Texas and Florida and Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, they have the working class people for generations have had kind of this habit of buying a piece of land out in the middle of nowhere that isn't worth anything and putting houses on it. And it becomes kind of like a family compound. There might be 3 or 4 houses on it, and they're all related there. And they might be growing things, food. They'll have a fucking barn there. They'll have a garage. They're fixing vehicles. It's like a little family compound, and they range from very nice, super nice, to fucking just garbage. All right. And if it's got trailers, moldy trailers, and 3 or 4 of them, and they're constantly in and out of prison and shit, and that's kind of what was going on over there. It's kind of like on these family compounds. You don't
Yeah.
see that outside the South too much.
Yeah,
And it's
not
always
really.
down dirt roads.
I feel like you might see it out in the Southwest sometimes, like out in the desert.
But the places you were talking about, they're not even really in civilization. You have normal suburban areas, McDonald's and everything, and paved roads, and you might see a dirt road going off into it just looks like woods. And you might go back there, might be 20 acres. And there's just dirt roads running off everywhere, and it's all tree cover and shit, and there's trailers out there with mailboxes on them. They got power, they got all that. It's just that it's not like you're in civilization. And sometimes you go back there and it's pretty farms, 3 or 4 houses, and it's all one family. And they got a barn and places where they rebuild vehicles and trucks and tractors and fucking. They might have horses out there and cows and like that. So some of them are really, really nice, and some of them aren't. Well, the Hatfield McCoy one was one of the bad ones. And it's kind of like not in society. They're like living in nature, kind of.
CB said, I just read the police looked at her for running over a woman that was dating a guy she liked, but she was cleared. It was just a hit and run, apparently. Yeah, she was also suspected for a little while of strangling her sister to death. But as far as I know, she was cleared of that, or she was never, like, charged with it. I would not be shocked. I mean, that sounds like some shit she would do.
Which girl?
Theresa. Like,
I thought she killed a husband, though, didn't she?
She did kill one of her husbands, yeah. But we'll get into that.
All right.
But it like I said, her running over like a romantic rival, that sounds like it'd be in her wheelhouse.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they haven't charged her with anything else. Like I said, she's still alive. She's still in prison.
She's not going anywhere.
No, they said, well, there's a possibility. I think she maybe applied for parole or something like that in 2019, and they said no. And I think maybe her next one's coming up next year, like 2027. But everything I read said, yeah, they're not letting this person out.
She's too old.
Well, and also because they're like, one, she's 80.
Yeah, where's she going to
And 2, it's like she's never expressed any remorse. Like everything is just pretty much like, oh, poor me. And like I had to put up with these kids and it wasn't my fault and blah, blah, blah. So it's like she's never really taken any responsibility for the shit that she did.
She can't leave prison. She can't survive.
So I would be shocked if they let her out. And like I said, I don't imagine she's going to live that much longer anyway. She's 80 years old, and I don't imagine she's in great health.
No, she's going to die in there.
So
that's the best place for her.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't seem to be causing any trouble in there, so that's something.
She'll probably live longer if they just keep her in prison. But that she'd be dead in a few years.
Yeah, so somebody...
Too much stress.
And also somebody might
get her, but
might get her, you know what I mean? Like, considering...
Well, she'd be on welfare, and she'd have a bunch of shit she'd have to fucking do, and she wouldn't make it. They tend not to make it. Once they've been in there
She's been in there so long.
Yeah.
Since the 80s, so...
She wouldn't be able to mentally adjust to the new world.
Because this happened in the 80s, like, she killed her daughters. Mm-hmm. Well, no, she hasn't been in there since the 80s, because they actually didn't catch her until, like, 10 years later. But she killed her daughters in 84 and 85. Okay. And then they didn't really catch her until 93, 94.
Okay, I didn't realize it was that late.
Yeah, so...
I thought they got her back then.
No. Because like I said, they didn't... Yeah, we'll see why.
All right.
But like I said, the 2 daughters she killed, they didn't even know who they were.
Yeah. They thought it was a serial killer.
Yeah, they did suspect that.
Yeah.
Or they didn't know that the 2 crimes were related because the bodies were dumped, like, and it wasn't exactly the same MO, I guess. So they didn't really link them at first.
To find out that they were sisters either.
No, because that was 80s. They didn't really have... That was mid-80s.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they really only started using DNA, like, in its infancy, like, in maybe 86.
Yeah.
Like, I think was maybe the first case where they kind of used that to help solve it, if I'm remembering correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But it wasn't really a thing until, like, way later. You know what I mean? It was just kind of, like, still a new technology that they weren't real, like, fucking sure of. CB said she sounds like Rose West. Yeah, a bit like that, too. Like I said, and we've talked about this a lot, like, we do a lot of shows about serial killers and horrible murders and shit like that. And, 9 times out of 10, it's a dude, right?
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, like, when it's a woman...
It's bad, man.
It's really bad. Like, and I'm not saying that, like, some of the dudes don't do fucked up shit, because they do. Like, we've talked about really fucked up shit, they did too. But for some reason, and I don't know if if that's just because it hits harder because it's like you don't expect a woman to do that.
I think it's because a woman knows how to hurt another woman worse.
And yeah, I mean, it could be a little from column A, a little from
Yeah.
column B. It's just, I feel like, and especially shit like this. Now, I will say that, many, many times I'm not sure what the percentage is. So if I said a percentage, I'd just be pulling it out of my ass. But it's a pretty high percentage of like children that die. If they're murdered, it's usually the mom, because women, when they kill, they tend to murder people they know and people that are vulnerable. You know what I mean? Children, the elderly, like, you have like nurses that kill their patients and shit like that. They tend to operate in that way.
When it came to the Wests, Rosemary West, that was one that's a couple, right?
Yeah, it was Fred and Rosemary.
Yeah, Fred and Rosemary West. The victims that survived, because they assault the woman together a lot of times, and then they usually they kill them. The ones that survived said that they weren't afraid of the guy too much. They were afraid of fucking Rose. That she was worse.
I don't blame them. I mean, yeah, she was
meaner.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, and
yeah,
it's not always the same, like in couple dynamic ones, because we talked about, Brady and Hindley.
Yeah.
And in that case, obviously you can't go back and do this experiment, but in that case, from everything that I know about those two, had Myra Hindley not met Ian Brady, I don't think she would have killed anyone. I don't think she would have gotten involved in anything like this. I think that her...
But did she get into it more, though?
I don't know. I think in that case, he was into it more than she was.
She was just going along.
But she was going along because she was trying to impress him. Yeah. So I think in that case, I mean, I'm not saying she's not a piece of shit, because she is, but I'm just saying that I don't think she would have done anything had she not met him. I think it was that dynamic, and she was just trying to make him happy. And he was and he was a monster.
Yeah.
And she just got sucked into it. Like I said, not excusing it, because she should have got the fuck out. But
some people can't fucking resist.
Yeah, but in some cases, like in this case, like, the Sylvia Likens case with Gertrude Banishevsky, I think is how you pronounce her last name. Like, women like that, they don't even need a dude to like make them. They're just fucking monsters, like, all on their own. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't need a man serial killer being like, hey, honey, let me show you the ways of the serial killer. You know what I mean? They're just like fucking batshit crazy on their own. And this woman for sure is. And like I said, this is one of the worst things. I mean, this is just the shit that happened. And it happened over years and years and years and years. And the shit that happened is just kind of like beyond belief. And I'm not excusing also like all of the authorities that failed these fucking children. And that failed to like hold this bitch accountable. But in a way, I kind of get it. I get, when they tried to tell the story, it sounds so crazy that people are just kind of like, nah. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't want to believe it. Especially back in the 70s and 80s. I kind of feel like nowadays people are like more inclined to believe because they know that kind of shit happens, right? But I think back then they were just kind of like, nah, they're just acting out, or... there's, of course, their parents would never do anything like that, blah, blah, blah. So they just didn't believe them. They didn't have the same awareness, I guess, of the shit that goes on. So, like I said, I kind of get why they weren't believed at first. Not that there's any excuse for it, because a lot of this could have been prevented, is what I'm going to say, which we'll see. Okay, so let's kind of start with talking a little bit about Theresa's background. There's not a fuck of a lot about it out there. I'm not sure. I think she was probably also abused as a child. But I don't know the extent of it. You know what I'm saying? So everybody knows her by Theresa Knorr. That was actually one of her married names. She was actually born Theresa Jimmie Francine Knorr. That was her name. And she was born in Sacramento, in California, in 1946. Now, her mom's name was Swanee, and her dad's name was Jim. And Swanee had 2 kids from a previous marriage, and then her and Jim had 2 or 3 kids together. So it was like a blended family. Now, it was a fairly, I mean, they weren't poor. They were just working to middle class kind of family. Jim actually worked at a dairy, like he was an assistant cheesemaker, which, okay. And Swanee also worked. She worked at a lumber company. Like she operated a machine that made pencils. So they were both working. And at some point, they had raised enough money to like move to, because they kind of lived like in a working class neighborhood, but they earned enough money to like move to like a slightly nicer neighborhood in Rio Linda, California. And everything seemed kind of normal. Theresa was actually very close to her mom, except when Theresa was about, like a tween, I'm going to say. Her dad, Jim, got diagnosed with Parkinson's. And, as most people know, this is a degenerative condition. So as time went on, he was really no longer able to work. Like he had to take early retirement, and obviously their finances took a big hit. Like Swanee was still working, but it wasn't, enough like to cover, all the kids that they had and this bigger house that they had. And by most accounts, the fact that he was deteriorating made him really frustrated and angry, and he tended to take that out on his kids and possibly also his wife. So he was very verbally abusive. He was very physically abusive, at least according to what they said. And he probably didn't love that Swanee, the wife, was now like the primary breadwinner. I'm imagining, especially back in this era, he might have felt like kind of emasculated by that, especially like I said, because Parkinson's is a terrible, terrible disease. And he was just getting more and more like he had to be in a wheelchair and shit like that. Now, when growing up, Theresa seemed kind of jealous. Jealousy is something that we'll hear a lot about Theresa. Like that's something that they said she was just a very jealous person, a very possessive person, to the point where it was like kind of pathological, like a little bit. I feel like her and her sister like competed like for boyfriends and things like that. Although, like I said, she was real close to her mom, and I think her mom kind of favored her like over her sister, which she probably liked that. However, in 1961, Theresa was walking with her mom like to a store, and her mom suddenly just like collapsed. Now, her mom, again, by most accounts that I read, was kind of obese and was also a diabetic. And so her mom basically like died like right there on the sidewalk, like in her arms, like literally. She died of congestive heart failure at the age of 53. So, just walking with your mom to the store and she suddenly drops dead. I mean, that's obviously going to be pretty traumatic, like for a kid. She was like a teenager at this stage.
Congestive heart failure at 53.
At 53, yeah.
God
like I said, they said she was
overweight.
Yeah, they said I heard that she was morbidly obese.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that would have been in 1961.
Fat enough to kill you.
Fat enough to kill you. And she had diabetes also, which may or may not have been managed properly.
Angel's boyfriend died of it a few months ago. He was younger than me.
Mike.
Tried to get him in the gym. You want to listen?
Yeah, he was only in his 50s. Yeah, he was younger than I am, I think.
Younger than me. Younger than you.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe late 40s.
Yeah, and he just like...
Keeled over. And he wasn't that fat.
No, not really.
No, chubby.
Yeah, I would have just called him chubby. Yeah. Because he was kind of tall, too. Like, he was kind of tall.
Yeah. I tried to warn him.
But I wouldn't have called him, like, obese.
Yeah.
He was just kind of chubby.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was fucking freaky when that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just
out of nowhere. Everybody we know died.
Well, we're getting to that age. I hate to say.
Spooky, but we're doing good though.
Like I said, like our friend John that we knew from Barbarella, like fucking keeled over in fucking Target.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, and he died. He was also just in his mid 50s.
All sedentary lifestyles.
Yeah, doesn't help.
Doesn't help. Hurts.
Yeah.
Uncontrolled diets.
Yeah. So, So after her mom died, um, and her dad obviously couldn't afford to keep the house anymore because, he's just on disability or whatever. And now they don't have the second income. So he had to sell the house. And I kind of feel like at this point, Theresa had been used to at least some measure of stability in her life. And obviously they did not have that anymore. And, maybe now she's, like I said, there's not a lot of stuff about her childhood, but maybe now, like, her dad, who had been kind of abusive in the past, like, now he's the only one there and there's like no buffer in between. I've also heard some reports that said Theresa was quite sex obsessed. She was very pretty, apparently, and was quite magnetic to men in her youth and well into her 20s, which, as we'll see, she really had no problem at all, like, picking up men just like that. So
That was her power.
I don't know what she looked like back then. Like I said, she looks like a sack of potatoes now, but she's 80. You know what I mean?
It's not what I'm saying. According to what her daughter said, from what I remember, I remember. My memory's good, okay? Because shit, I can call this anyway. I don't remember them ever showing any pictures of her.
Yeah, I couldn't find any pictures of her young.
Yeah, but
I saw a couple that were misattributed as her, but they weren't her.
But her daughter went on that when she was young, she was really pretty. Everybody liked her.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard everybody say that. Like I said, I don't know what she looked like. Like I said, it's hard for me to extrapolate because really the only pictures I've seen of her are a recent-ish one when she was in her 70s, like in prison, and her mugshot.
I'm sure she was cute.
I mean, she must have been because, like I said, she had no problem at all. And even when she had a man, she was out getting other men, like cheating on
him. From what her daughter said, she said that she was petite, that she was thin and pretty, and all the guys liked her, and so that was why she wanted them all to be fat.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did go into.
She started getting fat.
That is one thing they did go into in the Afflicted movie, as inaccurate as it is.
Yeah.
The mom was like obsessed with getting fat, even though she was weighing and she only weighed 135 pounds for a tall woman. Yeah. And she's like, I'm getting fat, and then she was trying to force feed.
Yeah.
Like the daughters, so they would get fat, so they would be fatter than her. Right. And that is one of the things that that her
see how good my memory is?
Reported. Yeah. That they'd try to force feed the daughters so they would get fat.
And I was horrified by it. Make them eat all that fucking raw macaroni, making them eat fucking boiled macaroni with fucking huge cups of fucking Crisco in it.
Yeah, they showed that in the movie actually, because I was like, oh, they got that. They got that right.
And she's like, they would eat it. Huge things of fucking like 2-cup scoops of Crisco inside fucking macaroni and cheese, and they actually would eat it, and then she would give them more and put another 2 cups. They'd try to eat that, and they couldn't eat it, and if you threw it up, she'd make you eat your own vomit.
Yep.
Yeah, and they were like, I can't eat anymore. I already, so that bitch needed an ass beating. Or
something. Well, she needed to be taken behind a woodshed and just put out of her misery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This kind of person is irredeemable. I don't think somebody like this can be fixed.
No. Well, you can fix them, but it's going to take a bullet.
Well, that's right. Well, yeah. I mean, you can't fix them and like leave them be alive.
That fixes it right there. But no. Okay, you know what would fix her is a very even. A very fair but strong, dominant man that beat the shit out of her and keep her in line. She was one of those kind. If she didn't have a dude, because a fair guy would protect the children, but she was the kind of woman that would only fear punishment.
And I mean, she did seem to get into a relationship with dudes that beat the shit out of her. Well, they didn't all beat the shit out of her, but
that would be the only thing. That would be the only thing she would respect. I know that type.
And that's, in a way, it's kind of sad.
Because they're dominant.
It's kind of sad because a lot of times, a lot of chicks that are like that is because they come from abusive house. Like their dad abused them.
Yeah.
And so when they look for relationships, it's almost like they think that's normal.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that,
that's a different interpretation. What it is all the abuse makes them strong. So they can kind of become naturally dominant. But the thing is they're not comfortable in a dominant position because they don't really want to be in charge. They were never in charge before. They want somebody else to be in charge, like the dad or whatever. So they want to be beaten back into submission. but they want to be beaten back into submission to somebody that they can trust, so they can be in the strong but gentle hand of a controlling master. That's what they want. But that was weird, what?
Yeah, it was weird. I thought you hit something.
No. But the thing is, though, is that you have to do physical harm to them to prove it to them that you're stronger than them, that you could be feared. If they don't fear you, then they don't respect you. It's like something out of the animal kingdom.
Like I said, it's fucked up. It's a fucked up dynamic, like all around.
Yeah, I've known them like that. You don't want to get into relationships like that.
No, that is dysfunctional as fuck.
Yeah, and they'll like you, and they'll want you to fucking come on to them, but you go, yeah, but to be with you, I'm gonna have to beat your ass, or you're gonna abuse me. So because because they'll do that. They're violent.
Well, this bitch was for sure.
Yeah, they're always violent. They come from a violent background.
Yeah, because like I said, even though she was married to dudes that beat her, like she was apparently also physically abusive to them. So it was kind of like
there is husband abuse. They have it on video of fucking women beating dudes.
Yeah,
and the reason why she's beating that dude is because he isn't beating her ass. He beats her ass and she loves him. She's trying to get him to beat her ass to prove that he loves her. Because that was the background that she came from.
Yeah, like I said, it's a terrible fucking dynamic.
Yeah.
It's super, super unhealthy.
Yeah, if a woman ever hits you, just leave her.
Yeah, I mean, don't even...
She wants you to beat her.
Yeah, like I said, it's fucked up. So she's out of this, she doesn't have the stability she had. Her mother has died. That obviously affected her, like, a great deal. And so she pretty much immediately wants to get out of her home situation. So she basically decides she's going to marry the first dude that wanders across her path, essentially. So she drops out of school. I've heard that she, like, did all her classes, like, early so she could graduate, but I've also heard she just dropped out. And she married a dude named Clifford Clyde Sanders. She was 16 and he was 21. And I don't think they'd known each other that long. But she talked him into marrying her, and he did. He was an alcoholic, and he was the father of her first child, whose name was Howard. Howard was born in 1963. Now, from the beginning, obviously, knowing what her personality is like and knowing what she would do later, obviously not a super happy marriage. She was very, very jealous, very, very possessive, constantly accused him of cheating on her, whether he really was or not, I don't really know. They just, like, were at each other's throats, arguing, like, pretty much constantly. And in 1964, she actually called the police and said that he punched her in the face. But then when the cops showed up and everything like that, she decided she didn't want to press charges. It's very common. So the assault charges were dropped, like, later on. Now, about a week or two after this, July 6th, 1964, which was the day after Clifford's birthday, they were having another fight because evidently he had gone out with his friends for his birthday instead of staying home with her. And he eventually just got sick of her bullshit and was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm leaving. And Theresa, who was at that time pregnant with their second child, basically grabbed a shotgun and shot him in the chest. And he died. So I think, like, a lot of things say that she shot him in the back. This is not the case. Because there was, what actually ended up happening was that she pointed the gun at him. He put his hands up like, oh shit. And then she shot, and I think it, like, bounced off his wrist and, like, went into his chest and killed him. Because he was only shot once, as far as I know.
With a shotgun?
Shotgun, yeah.
No, that doesn't make sense.
Something like that. I don't know if it was a rifle or a shotgun. I don't know what it was.
Shotgun's a big handful of pellets of different sizes. All those pellets won't bounce off a wrist and go into you.
I'm just saying. I'm just repeating what I heard. It's like I don't know.
No, shotgun's pretty powerful too. Something else happened. That's just the narrative that they.
But I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure that he wasn't shot in the back. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Because I know that I saw some sources say that he was shot in the back, but I don't think
probably
that's
shot in the chest, probably.
Yeah. Well, that's what killed him. I mean,
yeah, he probably shot directly in the chest.
He was dead. So
yeah.
Now, so she gets arrested, obviously, and was charged with murder. However, she pled not guilty. She said it was self-defense. She said we were fighting, and he was an alcoholic, and he was super violent, and we were fighting, and the gun went off.
She probably had that arrest record too.
Basically, what arrest record?
Because didn't she call the cops on him, but didn't press charges?
Yeah, but I don't know how
they would have recorded that.
Yeah, so maybe that, and I don't even know if that came up at the subsequent trial.
Yeah, that'd be enough to get her off.
Well, yeah. Yeah. But like I said, I don't know if that's, and the fact that she was pregnant, and she apparently came off pretty well, like on the stand. Yeah, the jury she was like sympathetic.
Did she bond out, or was she in prison awaiting trial?
I don't know.
Probably in prison awaiting trial for a year or so. She probably didn't have the money to bond out.
I don't know. Like I haven't read anything that specified anything.
All right, if you don't know American law, if you get arrested, you get charged with murder, they'll set a bond, but it might be in the tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, actually. You go to a bail bondsman, and he can front 90% of it, so you got to pay 10%. It might be $10,000 to get out on a murder charge. Because your trial won't go down for about a year. If you don't have that bond money, you're going to be in the county jail there for a year awaiting trial. If she had kids, they may have let her. If she already had kids born by then, huh?
She had one kid and she was pregnant with another one.
Okay. They probably sent her back home on her own recognizance. Probably what they did. So they might have let her out on bond, or it might have waived the bond, or put a bond very low so her family could afford it. So she probably, because she was pregnant. See, that's a big responsibility for the state. Chances of, it's a domestic dispute, chances of her reoffending or being a threat to the society pretty low. So they probably let her await trial at home.
Weird. And like you said, the fact that she had, like I said, I don't know if this came up at the trial, but the fact that she had reported him for domestic violence before whether or not it was bullshit, I don't know.
Yeah, it probably wasn't bullshit.
I mean, it might not have been.
No, I'm sure it wasn't.
Now, I mean,
they were fighting.
His family came out later and said, "Oh, he wasn't violent and he had an abuser and stuff like that." But it's like, there's no way.
Inflaming his ass.
There's no way of knowing.
She was probably inflaming his ass.
Now his sister, so her sister-in-law, basically said she, gave testimony at the trial, and she said that she was really jealous and possessive, and that she had heard Theresa say something along the lines of, I'll kill him before any other woman can have him, or something like that.
Cheating on me, cheating on me.
But like I said, I don't know if he was really cheating on her or not.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
Like she kind of jumped to that conclusion. But the ironic thing was, like, later, I don't know about this marriage, but like later marriages, she was absolutely cheating. But apparently it was okay for her to do it. Yeah. But not okay for her.
Probably because she's like, well, he's cheating.
Yeah, that might have been how she justified it. Well, I know he's cheating on me, so I'm just gonna fucking do it. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
You probably imagining that too.
Yeah, but like I said, you never know. Like, especially in this era.
Bitch psycho.
Yeah, she's definitely a psycho.
Yeah.
So she shot her husband and got acquitted.
That's common though. Shooting your husband and getting acquitted is common. If you can claim self-defense, and she was pregnant at the time, had a baby, the jury would believe it.
They did.
Yeah.
So she totally got away with it.
Because they were, well, what's the motive? What does she have to gain by shooting her husband? She's pregnant. She's going to need him for income. Well, he must have been beating her.
Yeah, and I mean, back then,
that's a common thing.
Like you would have thought.
That's a common thing. They're like, what would she gain by shooting the husband? Of course, he's beating her.
It's like now she's broke and she's got like another kid on the way.
And 90% of the time, maybe 99% of the time, that's true.
Yeah.
But you don't know if you're dealing with a fucking nut, though.
That's what I mean.
This might be a fucking nut.
That's what I mean. It's like, and I'm not like shitting on that being a thing because
is
it's
a
like,
thing.
like you said,
Yeah.
most of the time that's probably true.
Yeah, I would say most of the time that's true.
In this case, I'm not sure because this woman is fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like she might have just been making it up. Like he very well might have been abusive because I feel like these types of people tend to find one another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think she was the type that if you were not an abusive man, she could get it out of you. She'd probably fuck with you like crazy.
Yeah, so it could have been that. Like,
Yeah.
it did seem like she was just constantly like, I know you're cheating on me. I know you're
Yeah.
doing this, that, and the other thing. Like I said, I don't know if he was or not. It's just, but she for sure accused him of it like
Yeah.
all the time. So she got acquitted. She got her son Howard back, and she's like 4 months pregnant at this stage. So this is late September 1964. Now, you have to think she married him real young, so she's only 18 years old at this point. Now, so she's alone for a little while, and this is when her alcoholism really started to ramp up. Because that's how she was coping with shit, evidently. So she starts going to the American Legion and drinking and meeting men. And she was very popular with the dudes there. Like I said, she's only 18 years old at this point. And she might have been the only young woman hanging out there. I don't really know. And like I said, she was supposedly a looker back in those days. So it was here at her little watering hole where she met another guy whose name was Estelle Lee Thornsberry. Now, he had been in the Army, and he had been in a swimming accident where he like jumped into water and he didn't know how shallow it was, and I think he like broke his spine or something like that.
That's a fucking common one.
That is very common.
Yeah.
And he was a quadriplegic, so he was, in a wheelchair, obviously. And obviously he'd been having a hard time dating because, a lot of women don't want to date a quadriplegic. And but she seemed okay with it. Probably not for the reasons that he thought. She's probably like, ooh, here's somebody I can fucking dominate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he can't leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he's just gonna sit at home and I can do whatever I want because it's not like he can chase me around or beat my ass or anything. So in March of 1965, she had the baby that she was pregnant with. It was her first husband's that she shot, and this was Sheila. And evidently, her new man, who I don't think she married this guy, but they lived together. His name was Estelle, like I said. And he was really good with the kid. Treated her just like his own child, even though it obviously wasn't his. And he's like, we're all going to move in together, bring the kids. It'll be wonderful, blah, blah, blah. So they rented an apartment, and everything was okay for a little while. She tended to jump into shit, and the dudes did too. It wasn't just her, to be fair. Real quick. Like a lot of times she'd be like, chatting up a dude at the American Legion, like when everyone's had a few, and she's like, hey guy, whatever. And then like, a week later, they're like, hey, let's get married. Like, you know what I mean? Don't fucking do that. But people were doing that back then.
Stability.
Yeah, she absolutely was. And so basically what she started doing though, because he was a quadriplegic and couldn't really, go anyplace or wasn't as mobile as she was, she started basically being like, hey honey, can you just like stay here and watch my kids? I'm just gonna go out and party for a little while.
Go fuck some dudes.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Could use his ass as a babysitter.
Yeah, that's basically what she was doing.
He was getting that quadriplegic check.
Yeah.
He's getting paid. So she was the welfare check.
Yeah, and he probably had okay benefits too because he was military.
Yeah, of course, he's getting a check.
And I don't know if I don't know if the accident happened like while he was or if it was after. I'm not really sure. Like after he got out. But yeah, so she just thought, oh well, I'm just gonna use him as like free babysitting, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so she started going out gallivanting around town. And Estelle soon discovered after a few months of this that she was indeed cheating on him with his best friend.
Yeah.
Which, keep it classy, Theresa.
Beating that pussy up.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So, basically, he was just like, all right, get the fuck out. This is not working out. And so she packs up a bunch of her stuff and a bunch of his stuff, which she straight up stole, and moved out.
Yeah.
Like, took her kids and moved in with one of her friends or something like that.
To me.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's probably what she was thinking.
He owes me.
Yeah.
This is my divorce settlement.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't even think those two got married legally.
Yeah.
Because they weren't together that long. Like I said, they moved in together. And I'm assuming if she hadn't been such a psycho that he probably would have married her, but yeah, that's
so we don't know if they were married now.
I don't think they were.
Okay.
Not legally. She married plenty of other times. Believe me. So after she broke up with him, like I said, she was living with friends for a little while with her kids, and then she spots another guy named Robert Knorr, which is where she gets her last name from. He was a Marine, and they started dating, and a couple months later, she gets pregnant again, and they started talking about getting married. Like I said, this is fucking crazy how quick these people are jumping into shit, but, she was just, like you said, looking for the next gravy train, I guess. Now, Robert actually got shipped off to Vietnam in early 1966. And while he was there, this poor bastard, listen to the shit that happened to him. So he gets to Vietnam. Not long after he gets there, he's out on patrol, and he gets shot, like, in the shoulder, like just a stray bullet or something. It wasn't a horrible injury, but, obviously he had to be in the hospital for a little while. So then he goes back out on patrol again, but just like a couple weeks later, he gets shot again.
2 Purple Hearts.
In the side. Yeah. Like, he got shot in the side. Yeah. Again, not a serious, horrible injury, but he was out a while, like, in the hospital. And then, like, this poor fucking... The universe hates this dude. So he's, like, walking across a bridge or something, like in Vietnam, and the bridge blew up. While he was on it.
Yeah.
So he got shrapnel, like, all in his arms and legs, and he was all fucked up. He lived.
3 Purple Hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, oh my god, this poor bastard. So at this point, they're just like, holy shit, dude. And he was pretty fucked up. So they actually shipped him back to the United States, and he was out. Like, he was in the hospital for several months, you know what I mean? Because it was, like, pretty serious injuries at this stage. So by June of 1966, Theresa, because like I said, she had gotten pregnant with Robert before he got shipped off to Vietnam. So she's 7 months pregnant at this point. And so when he got back, they got married. And so this was his first marriage, technically her second. So yeah, she didn't marry Estelle Thornberry. They just lived together. So they got an apartment in Sacramento. And 2 months later, she has her third kid, who was Suesan. And then, less than 3 months later, she's pregnant again. Holy crap, these people are like fucking like bunnies and not using birth control. So she had a son that time, William Robert Knorr. And then that was in September of 1967. And then in December of 1968, she had another kid. And his name was Robert, not to be confused with Robert Knorr, the dad. So the dad, Robert, he was in the military still, but because he'd been kind of fucked up, he wasn't like active. They gave him a job where he was a burial escort. Like, so he would fly over the world to...
Yeah, that's a real... I did that before. I was in the 101st.
Yeah. He liked it, actually. It was pretty cushy.
Now it's something that you do just on certain cycles. On a white cycle, you can get selected for a few months to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I did funeral details. I was part of the firing squad. But we did mostly local in Tennessee.
Yeah, this guy, they would send him around different places and do it.
Burying guys. Yeah. You only did it for like a month.
Yeah, this guy, it seemed like this was the job that they gave him. So he was gone for long stretches, like doing different things. But of course, Theresa didn't like that because he was, gone a lot of the time. And so basically she was like, oh, well, you're just out like fucking other chicks in all these other countries or wherever the hell you're going. And at this point, I kind of feel like because of her frustration of him being gone and her thinking that he was cheating on her, she started getting kind of more abusive toward the kids, like kind of taking it out on them. Doing shit like making them sit on the floor and not move. And like if they did move, like she'd beat them. Um, she would lock them in closets, force feeding, that kind of stuff. Now, so after a little while of this, June 1969, Robert decides, again, he's had enough of Theresa's bullshit, and he moved out. And she actually tried to get ahead of the shit by filing for divorce against him and saying he was abusive and cruel to her. But then a few weeks after that, they seemed to kind of make up, and she dismissed the charges, like said, never mind, forget it. So they were together for about another year, and then Theresa filed for divorce. Weirdly, I don't know how fucking small this town was, but I thought this was fucking crazy when I saw this brought up. The same judge that, adjudicated her murder trial was also the judge for her divorce trial. Which I was like, do they even do that anymore? Where like they would have the same judge? Like I thought that was like two different, but maybe I guess that's more a lawyer thing, like specialties like that. But it's like
maybe the judge got a new job.
Yeah, maybe. But it's like, yeah, I think like weirdly, I think the same judge like presided over like 2 or 3 of her divorces as well as her murder trial, like before he retired. I'm just like, did they not have any other judges? What the fuck is going on? It's the same fucking judge. So he's like, it's this bitch again. Here she is. So
I know you, bitch. You're always in here.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Here we go. So, yeah. So their divorce was final in June of 1970. 2 months after that, Theresa has her 6th kid, which was her last one. And this was another girl. And the kid was named after herself, Theresa. But they called her Terry to avoid confusion. This was the girl that would ultimately blow the whistle, I guess. And the one that was interviewed and stuff like that, because obviously the 2 other daughters were murdered. But this one was not. She was the one that actually reported it, even though nobody believed it for a very long time. Now, after the divorce, Robert actually wanted to visit the kids, but Theresa was like, no, fuck off, and wouldn't let him see them. And so eventually he was just like, all right, fuck it. Well, I guess I can't see my kids anymore. And he just married somebody else and fucked off. You know what I mean? Now, because Theresa cannot stay single for 5 fucking seconds because of her issues, she starts dating another dude named Ronald Pulliam. And she married him in 1971. And they bought a house in Sacramento. And at first, everything seemed fine. Like, all the neighbors said they seemed pretty normal and shit like that. But then Theresa started getting up to her old tricks. Oh, you're cheating on me, blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, she was leaving her kids with him and then going out and partying, drinking and sleeping around and shit like that. And sometimes she wouldn't come home, like, for days at a time. And so Ronald was like, okay, again, enough of this shit, and divorced her ass also. Same judge, again, like presiding over this divorce, which was her last one. So, no, I think she did marry one more time. I think she married one more time. Because after that divorce, she started hanging out at the American Legion again, drinking, and then met another dude named Chet Harris. He was 59. He worked at the newspaper there in Sacramento. And they got married only a couple days after they first met. Which, I don't know what kind of magic pussy this bitch has, but it's just like, what the fuck? Like, how do you meet somebody and then 3 days later the dude is like so cunt-struck that he's just like, we have to get married right now? Like, I don't understand this.
Must have had a hell of a figure.
Like I said, I can't imagine anyone.
She could blow like a summer breeze.
I guess. I don't know, man.
These dudes are just simps, man.
I guess she just knew how to pick them, I suppose.
Yeah, picking simps.
But yeah, so they got married like only a few days like after they met. However, after she moved in with him, she found out that he had a hobby of he really really liked to photograph naked ladies, and he had
What year was this?
70s, like
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
1976.
Yeah, they call it photography clubs.
Yeah. It seemed like it was that kind of thing from what I read, and he had the pictures up like all over his bedroom, which to be fair, that is a little bit weird.
They had girls that made money by working in these circles, just going to photo shoots.
Yeah.
And doing that's where
and
Bitty
just
Page came from.
posing nude, yeah, like and all these guys would come and pay like a fee, and they take all
and then they would trade all the photos because pornography was illegal. You couldn't ship it.
Yeah, so you had to do it real.
So you had to do everything had to be local.
Or you could sell it in stores like under the counter, but if you got busted, you'd be in big trouble.
You couldn't ship it.
Yeah,
couldn't go through mail.
Yeah, it couldn't go through the mail. So and we're talking, and the porn that we're talking about is like so fucking tame.
Pretty tame, pinup stuff.
Yeah, it was just pinup shit.
Although some of it was hardcore.
Yeah,
some of it. But they would do films with that. But a lot of it was just topless, or, it was bottomless too. But a lot of those girls were hairy as shit. You couldn't see anything anyway.
Can't see. All I see is this thatch of pubic hair.
But no, some of it's still out there. Some of it's very well done. Virginia Belle, and there's a lot of just bombshells that they had. But they were also strippers a lot of times. But they also do modeling. And it was kind of a fun scene. A lot of times it was the husbands that were doing the photography and selling the photographs and trading photographs with the other guys. And, pimping ain't easy. They're not really pimping a girl, but it's because, they weren't escorting or anything, but she was already a stripper. It's just you're selling photographs of her. Bodybuilders did it too.
Yeah. Same thing. I feel like it would be less weird nowadays, but
yeah.
In this era, and for somebody like Theresa, who is already so jealous and possessive, it's like, yeah, she's not going to be down with that shit. Mm-hmm. Which, like I said, I kind of get it. Because, like, if you didn't know the dude, that's kind of your fault for marrying a dude after only 3 days or whatever. It was
the OnlyFans of the day.
Yeah, but it's like if you walked into the dude's bedroom and he's just, I'm like, I would think that was kind of weird. You know what I mean? I would think that was kind of weird.
It's in a pinup art.
Yeah. Like, if he just had, like, one or two, like, out in the living room and it was kind of tasteful or something, I wouldn't think that was weird. But, like, your whole bedroom, like, covered in the... Yeah, I would think that was weird.
Yeah. Those are, like, his trophies.
Yeah.
Look at all this shit, man.
I would think that was weird.
All his women.
Now, he asked Theresa to pose for him also, but she was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. And she's like, and this is fucked up and weird, and I don't like it. Now, interestingly, him and the daughter, Suesan... Like, he seemed to be, like, a really good father figure for her. Like, she really liked him, and they, would do stuff to get, like, just play games or, like, do puzzles or whatever. And, Theresa really did not like that. Because, like I said, as her daughters were getting older and, and going into their teenage years and getting, more attractive or whatever, like, growing into young women... She was, getting a little bit older herself and was, like, kind of maybe losing her mojo. And so she didn't really like it. So she didn't really like him giving attention to anyone else, even if it was her daughter. And she also didn't want... I feel like maybe she didn't want anybody, like, usurping her role as, like, the head of the family kind of thing.
Yeah, center of attention.
And the center of attention.
Yeah.
So it made her really mad that, that her daughter and her stepdad were, like, kind of developing a close relationship. So she filed for a divorce only 2 months after they got married. Same judge. Again. It was the same judge. Although he retired after that.
That's terrible, really. When you think about it.
It is.
Because that guy could have saved him.
That's what I was thinking. It's like he might have been.
Nice to her.
I mean, like, yeah, all the nudes, that was weird, but it's like he might have been, like, a good dude.
Yeah.
And he could have been, like, a father figure to them, and he might have tamped down some of Theresa's worst
wouldn't let her to abuse
impulses.
Some girls, yeah.
And he might have done something or believed them. Like, you never know how it would have turned out, but.
Hey, guys are protective of young girls. If he's a good guy, you know what I mean? He's going to be protective of her. And she probably needed a daddy, that type of deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like a rotating door, you know what I'm saying? And some of the dudes probably weren't great dudes.
Yeah.
And Theresa for sure was not. So these poor kids, like, didn't really have any good parental figures in their lives, you know what I mean? So after this divorce, it seems like I said, she had been abusive toward the children before to a lesser degree. Like, it's still bad, obviously, but it's like it didn't get to the levels that it got to later. But all of the kids that they interviewed later said that after this divorce, like that's when shit really started to go perilously downhill. She had been a pretty big drinker before, but she started to drink a lot more after that. And this is when she started kind of packing on the pounds. So she got like kind of fat, and she started to lose her looks around this time. And she just started to get like her whole outlook on life just started to get like worse and worse. Um, and so I kind of feel like this last one, I think she knew that her time in the sun was like coming to an end, like she might not be able to attract dudes anymore, and her daughters were now outshining her, perhaps. And so that's kind of what kicked off like the worst fucking shit, you know what I mean? And the two older boys, when they interviewed them later, this is one of the things they said. It said sometime around when I turned 10, she started becoming abusive and real short tempered. That was William saying that. She stopped going out or seeing friends at all on any level. She got like real reclusive. She got rid of the telephone because she didn't want any people calling, and we weren't allowed to have anybody inside the house. So they weren't allowed to have friends over or anything like that. She also kind of stopped cleaning, like shit like that.
So basically became a dump.
Yeah.
She got rid of the telephone because she couldn't afford to pay. She wanted to pay for it.
Well, I'm sure that was.
And there's probably bill collectors.
That was a factor too, I'm sure.
Yeah, and bill collectors. How much you bet?
And Robert also said, I grew up in an insane asylum, basically, but what's worse is we didn't know it was an insane asylum. So yeah. So they said that she just drank and drank, and the drunker she got, the meaner she got. She would throw knives at them. On at least one occasion, she grabbed Terry, the youngest daughter, by the arm and held a pistol to her head, which gave the poor kid like fucking PTSD, and started beating them like on the regular. And she would make them hold each other down, and while she beat them, she had this big long plank of wood that I think she drilled holes in it, and then she put duct tape or electrical tape on one end, like for the handle, and she called it her board of education. And she would like beat the shit out of them with it, and like make the other kids like hold the other ones down. And so basically, some of them like also they went to school for a while, but she eventually took them out, and because she didn't have any money and she didn't get a job, so she was kind of living on like a little bit of welfare, and that was it. So they had to kind of move to like a succession of like yuckier and yuckier like apartments in Sacramento. And she was drinking like pretty much every day. And she started telling all the kids like they weren't allowed to talk to anybody. Like if they talked to anybody outside about what was going on or about anything, that she would beat them or kill them or whatever. But yeah, and she would kind of pit them against one another, using the boys generally as enforcers, like you said, using kind of, divide and conquer sort of tactic, like getting narc on each other. It was kind of cult-like in that way. You know what I mean? And yeah, she stopped cleaning. They said the place was real dirty, like smelled like pee. All the kids were super jumpy, like super nervous, and they would never come to the door. They said that most of the kids didn't make it past the 8th grade. And even when they were in school, like if the kids would freak out, like if they missed the school bus or something like that, because they knew that if they didn't get home on time, that they were going to get their ass beat, like for various other things. Now, for whatever reason, because I think Theresa was becoming increasingly unhinged, and I'm sure that all of the alcoholism wasn't helping, she somehow got it into her head that her last husband, Chet, because remember Chet and the daughter, Suesan, had kind of, he'd kind of been a father figure to her. Theresa got it into her head that Chet had turned Susan into a witch. Um, like I said, I'm not really sure where she got this idea. She started getting a lot more witchcraft and demon focused, like as things went on. Not even really in a religious way, just like in a fucking batshit crazy kind of way. Now, Susan, she was kind of a younger teenager at the time. She was kind of sassy, and so she'd be like, "Yep, that's right, I'm a fucking witch," and she would like kind of, "I'm gonna put a curse on you," and all this other kind of shit. And so obviously her mom was really not into that. So I kind of feel like because Theresa believed this, and she did seem to believe it, so for a time Susan was kind of getting the worst of it. Now Susan did run away from home at one stage because of the abuse that was directed toward her, the fact that her mom thought she was a witch and all this other kind of shit. So she runs away. She gets picked up by a truancy officer and put in a psychiatric hospital, like on a hold. And Susan told them the story. She's like, "Look, my mom is nuts. She's an alcoholic. She beats the shit out of all of us." And basically told them the whole thing. We don't have a phone. We're not allowed to talk to anybody, all this other kind of shit. So what did they do at this psychiatric hospital? They called Theresa to the hospital, and Theresa basically said, "Oh, she's lying. She's got all kind of mental illness. She doesn't know what she's talking about, all this other kind of shit." And they sent Susan back home. They thought she was lying. So that's kind of one of the most infuriating things about this, is that a couple of the kids did try to escape and like tell people what was going on in there. They knew it was bad, and no one really believed them. And apparently when Theresa showed up, she had enough fucking charm to just go, "Oh, she's really troubled, and none of that ever happens." And they bought it. Like, so they sent Susan back home. So obviously once Susan gets back home after this episode, Theresa puts on a pair of gloves that were like made out of leather, and then just started beating the shit out of her daughter, and then forced her other kids to also beat the shit out of her. Just like punching her in the stomach, like over and over again. And Robert, her brother, said that, "I had to keep hitting her because my mom said I didn't hit her hard enough, like the first time. So it's like, you have to keep doing it." You know what I mean? So because Susan had run away, Theresa decided that she was going to handcuff Susan to the bed at night, and she would make the kids stay up in shifts to watch her so she wouldn't leave. And I think it was around at this point where she pulled them all out of school. And basically was like, I don't even know if she homeschooled. I'm sure she didn't bother. But she's like, "Yeah, you're not going to school anymore. Like, everybody's fucking staying home." So one of the things, this kills me. So remember how I said that she thought that Susan was a witch? One of the things that she thought Susan was doing to her was that she was putting a spell on her to make her gain weight. She said that her daughter was a witch and was making her get fat because she couldn't understand why she was gaining weight. I was like, probably all the alcohol is probably what's doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. So like I said, I kind of feel like this is definitely a case, and we saw the same thing in the Sylvia Likens case, where this is a woman who, her daughters are, becoming teenagers, becoming young women, and were quite pretty. And she's meanwhile getting older, fatter, uglier, like, and is probably like, didn't like it. So there not only had to be a reason, but she had to punish them for it. So she kept blaming them for being like plotting against her or being sluts or whatever, which it probably would have been hard for them to be sluts because they weren't allowed to leave the house. You know what I'm saying?
They're slutting around with themselves.
Yeah, with okay.
You're like touching yourself.
They don't go anywhere. It's like I'm not really sure how slutty they can be.
Yeah.
And again, as we said, like she would force feed them so they would get fat, so they wouldn't be attractive anymore. And
from what I remember, they didn't get fat either.
No, they weren't fat.
No.
But I've only seen seen a couple pictures of the victims.
They look like malnourished to me.
Yeah, they actually look.
I don't think they got any protein.
Probably not.
And they were living off macaroni and cheese and Crisco, big fucking hunks of Crisco.
Yeah, it was just like shit food, you know, because they were poor, you know.
Crisco won't make you fat; it'll clog your arteries, though, and you'll lubricate the hell out of your bowels. But you can actually build muscle on fat, but which is contrary to everything they tell you. But listen to bodybuilders, fat you build muscle, but not real good. But anyway. I can't believe they actually lived, though. Because you would think that much vegetable shortening could kill you.
I mean, I'm not sure how often she did it, but it was something that she did, you know, on more than one occasion, where she was afraid that they were getting prettier than her and they were going to get more attention than her. So she wanted them to get fat, so she would force feed them. And like I said, when she force fed them, she would feed them so much that they would throw up, and then she would make them eat the throw up.
Yeah, it made me vomit. Yeah.
She also burned them with cigarettes. One time she stabbed one of them in the back with a pair of scissors. So there was that.
Guess where she shot one of them.
Well, we haven't got to that yet. Yeah. You're jumping ahead.
Oh yeah, this bitch is a murderer.
Yeah, and she would, like I said, lock them in closets for days at a time, shit like that. And she encouraged the kids to like report on one another. Like I said, it was a very cult-like environment. So like you didn't want to get punished, so it's like, oh, I'm gonna get some brownie points by saying that, you know, my sister did so and so. You know what I mean?
They're saying we got. Where she said from North Carolina, got Crisco. What is that?
When I lived in North Carolina, people would have gallon jars of Crisco in their fridges that they cooked everything.
I got a whole bunch of it too. I got butter flavored Crisco.
Yeah, we got.
I make cookies with it.
Sometimes. Yeah, that's mostly
it keeps forever.
That's mostly what we made.
They had the shit at Sam's and they were like giving it away.
Yeah.
Big jars of it for like fucking $1.50. Yeah, I could probably.
It's good to make cookies with. We don't make cookies that often, no. We don't cook a lot of stuff
with the butter flavor.
Yeah.
And it has unlimited shelf life, so.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm sure it goes bad eventually.
I don't think it ever does.
But you know what I mean?
Well, as long as it's sealed, I think you're all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. So let's talk a little bit. Okay, so all of this shit was going on. Her throwing knives at people, stabbing people with scissors, handcuffing Susan to the bed, making them eat all this food and then eat it again, like after they threw it up, beating them with a big huge board, all this other kind of shit. Like I said, turning them against one another. So it's just getting worse and worse. It's just like a horrible. None of them are in school anymore. All of them are completely isolated. They're not really allowed to go out. They're not allowed to talk to anybody. There's no phone. They don't see anybody else on the regular. And they obviously knew it wasn't normal, but it's just like that's kind of all they knew, maybe. And I think that they had lived in this kind of pressure cooker for so long that it's like they didn't even remember or know what it was like to live in a normal environment, kind of, you know, which is fucking sad. So by the time the mid 80s roll around, shit escalates quite a bit. So Susan, who was born in 1966, at the time of her death, she was 17 years old. And she was she was very smart, and she was pretty rebellious. Like I said, once her mom started believing that Chet had made her into a witch, she kind of rolled with it. Like, you know, a rebellious teenager would, being like, yep, that's right. He's gonna, you know, usher me into the satanic cult or whatever. That's absolutely sure. So yeah, so she kind of like ran with it.
You gonna drink?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so after, like, because not only had she handcuffed poor Susan to the bed, she would also handcuff her to the kitchen table. Like, and so she wasn't, and she did that for like years. I don't think she was there like forever, but she was like during the day, like she would handcuff her in the bed at night and have the other kids watch over her. And then she would drag her into the kitchen in the daytime and handcuff her to the table so she could like watch her. It was a tiny, tiny house. I think it was only like 2 bedrooms. I've seen pictures of what I think is the actual house, and it's very small. Like it's just like a step or two above a shack, pretty much. So she would have been able to like keep an eye on her, like wherever she was. So she would be like laying on the floor, like under the table, handcuffed to this table, like so long that she would get like sores and shit. Yeah. So this went on for such a long time that Susan was eventually like, you know, just fucking, you know, let me out of here. She just like had a fucking nervous breakdown, right? And July 16th of 1984, Theresa just starts going on a fucking rampage and starts like hitting all of them. And then, okay, so there's a couple different versions of this. Now, supposedly, she uncuffed Susan from the table, like, you know, temporarily. And then she gave Terry a pistol and says, if she moves, shoot her. Now, according to one version of events, Theresa and the other kids are in the kitchen and they were making breakfast or something. And one of them dropped something on the floor and it made a noise. And Terry was startled and the gun went off and shot her sister. Like in the shoulder. But I've also heard another version where Theresa straight up shot her. I don't know which one is true. But I'm assuming that because most of them say that like Terry accidentally shot her after her mom gave her the gun and said, you know, shoot her if she moves or whatever. That's probably what happened, but I'm not entirely sure. So Theresa, because she is a fucking psychopath, does not care at all that her daughter Susan has just been shot. Handcuffed her back under the table where she was and was basically like, man, you're getting blood all over the carpet. Like somebody needs to clean that up kind of thing. Of course, she did not call an ambulance. Of course, she did not call the police or anything. She's basically like, you know, whatever. She'll be fine. And she made the other kids take her and put her in the bathtub. And so they go and put Susan in the bathtub. And she was in there for like a while. Like I'm talking like days or weeks. They left her in the bathtub like with a bullet in her. And she was like all bleeding and shit. Now, Susan did survive the shooting. But obviously she was in a lot of pain. The shit was getting infected.
Yeah, she was shot with a 25 ACP. Small little pocket pistol. Look, I saw the pistol. It was either like a little FIE Titan 25 or a that little Colt 25 pocket pistol that they used to make. It was that's the shape it was. I remember seeing it in a documentary because I was like, man, she was shot and she survived it. It was a 25 ACP is weak, real weak.
And like I said,
it can kill you though.
Yeah, and I think it was in like the shoulder. I think it went through her shoulder, like right here.
I thought it was in her guts. No, it wasn't? Okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
I can't remember if it was up here or if it was like in her abdomen.
I thought it was.
It might have been.
I don't remember. I remember they. Okay, go ahead. I don't want to spoil it, but all right. For some reason, I thought it was in her guts.
It might have been. I don't really remember. And like I said, there's a lot of like conflicting shit about like what actually happened. So this poor girl is in the.
Or it was in her back. She said it was in her back, but that might line up with shoulder. If it went in through the front of the shoulder, it might have been lodged in the back.
Now in the movie, The Afflicted, which like I said, don't take that as gospel because that is very loosely based on this. Yeah. She was shot right here
Yeah.
And then like, the bullet was like lodged like back here.
In the back.
Like right by her shoulder blade.
You're right. That may be true.
And like I said, the movie did get some stuff right.
Yeah.
But I would hesitate to like take it, like I said, as truth, because they took a wild license
what
with
her
other
sister
things.
said, what they had to do later, and I think it was because I think she said it was they were trying to take it out of her back, and that lines
That's
up
what
with the
they did
shoulder.
in the movie.
You're right. Okay. Yeah, it's probably true.
So obviously the kid, she's she's not a kid, she's 17, but you know what I mean. She's in the tub, she's been shot, and she's just like in horrible pain, and she's begging, please, just let me go. Like, you know what I mean. I think she was also handcuffed, like in the bathroom. And so Theresa, for whatever reason, she's like, okay, like Suesan wanted to go to Alaska. I'm not entirely sure why, but that's where she wanted to go. And Theresa was like, okay, you can go, but I have to get the bullet out of you first.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want anybody finding it and like it getting tied back to her. So see, she knew what she was doing. You know what I mean? Like it was evidence. She was smart enough to know that.
Although she's not so smart. It's real hard. You could have linked that bullet to that pistol, but that doesn't mean that she shot her.
Yeah, I mean,
you
especially
could say that she shot herself.
Especially in 1984.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it.
You would just say, yeah, that's my pistol, but she shot herself.
But see, I think what the kind of point I was trying to make is that she probably thought she was being super clever.
She thought she was being super clever, and I think she was trying to keep her from leaving.
Yeah,
if you would leave, I had to cut that bullet out of you, is what she said. And she was, okay, cut the bullet out of me. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll cut the bullet out of you, and you'll probably die from that. And then you're still not leaving. That's probably what she was thinking.
Yeah, it might have been.
So they cut in through the back and fucking dug that bullet out of her. She lived. If I remember correctly. No, she died later. No, she died from that.
Well,
yeah.
Let me get to it. I got the notes right here.
That's right. That's how this whole case got busted open.
Not quite. Not yet.
They found that by okay.
Yeah. Well, like I said, quit jumping ahead because I got the notes right here.
Jumping on your dick.
I know you are.
Okay.
So yeah, she's like, okay, well, I have to dig the bullet out. Now, again, there's conflicting reports. Some say that Theresa dug the bullet out herself, just with like a X-Acto knife or something. And some say that she made Robert do it, the son. So I'm not sure, but somebody dug the bullet out. And I believe it was with an X-Acto knife. I think she gave Suesan alcohol, like to, numb the pain or whatever, and a bunch of drugs that weren't even painkillers. I think it was like schizophrenia medicine or something like that. It was something that wasn't painkillers. Yeah. So she gave her a bunch of those and a bunch of booze and was like, okay, now we're going to cut this fucking bullet out of you. And they got it out, but of course it wasn't sterile. The wound was already kind of fucked up because they hadn't really done anything to it. I don't even think they put a bandage on it or anything. And so she basically it went septic. You know what I mean?
And it's infection. See, this is the fucking thing about it. Had they left that alone, she probably have been all right. Because a 25 ACP wound is if you were to look at it, like through a fucking X-ray, it looks very similar to a ice pick wound, which is just a puncture wound. It's not moving very fast. 25. It doesn't tend to go very deep. It doesn't fucking expand. It doesn't fucking fragment shit. So it's like an ice pick wound. And had they left it alone, maybe cleaned that wound out a little bit, run something down.
Well, yeah, that was totally survivable.
Yeah, she probably would have lived. And there's this concept that some people have is you have to remove a bullet. No, a lot of times the best thing to do is leave it in there.
Depends where it is, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just best.
But sometimes it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah, you won't even know once it heals up.
And like I said, it wasn't in any kind of area where there was like important organs or anything.
You could have taken a damn wire and put a loop on it, put some gauze or something, a cotton ball on the end, trim it down a little small, and just put everything with alcohol and sterilize it and run it down through that fucking hole and turn it, pull it back out, fucking patch it, and she'd be great. You don't even want to fucking sew it up. Don't do that. Let it breathe. Just put a little Band-Aid over it. It's a little hole. she'd have been all right. But no, taking that bullet out killed her. You're just putting more trauma, more fingers and shit fucking going.
Yeah, because I'm sure they were just fucking digging around in there.
Yeah, they probably. This is not a super
fingernails.
clean family anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the
house
is
is filthy. Yeah. And it's just there's probably fucking germs everywhere. I'm getting cooties just thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Smelling like piss in the house.
Yeah. So, like I said, I believe it was only a 2-bedroom house, and you know she has fucking 6 kids. Now I think at this stage, I'm not sure about exactly what the timing is, but I think her oldest son Howard, I think he had moved out by this time, but she's still got 5, you know, teenagers and younger kids like living in this tiny ass little house, and her. But I think Howard, her oldest son, had moved out at this point. So yeah. So obviously Suesan starts, you know, getting infected and is clearly not doing really well, like getting real delirious and shit like that.
Getting a fever.
And yeah. And so Theresa packs up all her stuff in like trash bags and ties her arms and legs together, puts duct tape over her mouth, and then makes her sons, Robert and William, put her in the car. They drove her like out to this Squaw Valley, and then they put her bags down, they put her on top of them, and then poured gasoline all over her and set her on fire.
While she was alive?
And she was still alive.
Oh yeah, I didn't know about that. I thought she died.
She was still alive.
Was she conscious?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I doubt it because she was in a pretty bad way. I think, like I said, this is not excusing anything, and I don't know. I wasn't there. I think Theresa maybe thought she was dead or close enough, I guess, and was basically like, yeah, get rid of the evidence. But she was absolutely still alive because when they did the autopsy, like there was all soot like inside her lungs. So she had she died of smoke inhalation. That was the cause.
Well, she was burning.
That was the cause of death.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was absolutely still alive. So passersby found the body the next day.
I thought she was in a cardboard box too.
No, that was the next one. Like I said, you keep stop
fucking it up.
Stop doing that.
God damn. Okay.
You just barely remember things, and you're just like.
I mean, barely remember. I remember all kinds of details.
I know, but
I thought that one was burned in a cardboard box.
No.
All right, I got him confused.
No, she was. I don't even think.
Man,
she was,
last time I heard this kid was 20-something years.
I know that, but like I said, but I have notes. I just watched stuff about it. Like I remember.
My shit's good, man. My memory's good for 20-something years.
You know.
Yeah. All right.
So, because the body was so destroyed, essentially, they couldn't identify her, and so she was a Jane Doe. For a very long time. They didn't tie any of this together until much, much later. This was 1984 that Suesan got killed. So after that, Theresa decides, well, she needs a new victim. You know what I mean? And so she starts directing most of her abuse toward her other daughter, Sheila, who at this point was 20 years old. She basically, Theresa herself did not work. She got some unemployment benefits, but obviously that's not very much, especially when you have 5 kids. So she decides she's gonna pimp Sheila out. You know? I don't know. In the movie, they showed her like inviting dudes over. And they also showed her doing it to like 2 of the daughters. All the names were different, like in the movie, because it's only loosely based. But as far as I know, I don't think she ever pimped Suesan out, although it's entirely possible that she did. But she for sure did pimp Sheila out. But I don't know if she took her somewhere or if she brought dudes to the house. But she basically forced her into prostitution. Now, actually, Sheila actually made quite a bit of money doing that. And so Theresa was like really happy. And Sheila hated it, obviously, but at least she was like, well, at least I get to leave the house every now and then, kind of thing. But then...
How old was she at the time?
20.
Okay.
Now, so after a few weeks of this, like I said, Theresa seemed happy 'cause she's like, "Oh, look at all the money your sister's making, blah blah blah." She's helping out the family by me pimping her out. But then what?
I thought she was a lot lizard, from what I remember.
I don't know. I didn't see anything that said that, so I'm not really sure. I don't know what the mechanics of it were.
Yeah, and I thought
Not
it
that
was more than one of them.
matters.
I remember, but
No, I don't think so. The only things that I saw, like Sheila for sure was pimped out. I don't think any of the other daughters were, but it's possible they were, but I didn't see that anywhere.
Yeah, I seem to remember that it was she was working at a truck stop that was near where they lived. That she'd walk down there and be a fucking lot lizard. And I remember it being more than one of them, but okay.
I'm just going by like,
what you
by all the shit that I read, and what
Okay.
you said is probably a lot more recent than.
Okay.
So I'm just going by that. And then so here's the weird thing. So Theresa like legit pimps her daughter out, and this goes on for a few weeks, and she's like, "Woohoo! She's making so much money." But then, because she seemingly can't help herself, she starts getting pissed at Sheila, saying that you're pregnant now, and also you have an STD, and I got it from the toilet seat in the house. Like, you gave me an STD by sitting on the toilet seat.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, whether either of these things were true, I don't think they were.
Maybe she thought she got crabs.
Or something.
Yeah.
And Sheila was like, "Yeah, I'm not pregnant, and I'm pretty sure I don't have an STD either." And when she said that, like, Theresa beat the shit out of her, and then hogtied her, and locked her in this little bitty closet.
Here's the thing that's looking strange. How big is this 20-year-old woman?
I don't know.
You'd think she'd probably be able to just kick the shit out of her mom, but I guess they were just so psychologically, so mentally.
Yeah, I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years, and they've been so isolated. Like, it's almost like a cult-like environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're probably fucking terrified to do anything. And honestly, they're probably kind of malnourished.
Yeah, so maybe they're not very big.
They might not be. So, so they have this little closet in their house that doesn't really have much ventilation or anything like that. And so she locks her in there. And she says to the other kids, if you give her any water or food or anything, like, I'll beat the shit out of you. Like, you're not allowed to open the door or nothing. Now, in later interviews, Terry said that she did, like, try to sneak her, like, food and water a couple of times. But, she was, like, afraid of getting caught. And basically, Terry also said that was kind of what Theresa always wanted. She's like, I'm just going to beat them until they confess to whatever I want them to confess to. So because Sheila had been in this closet with no food or water, like, for a while, she basically tried to tell Theresa whatever she wanted to hear. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I have an STI. I gave it to you. Sorry, I'm pregnant, blah, blah, blah. All this other kind of shit. But then Teresa's like, no, you're not. You're lying to me. And wouldn't let her out. And so she fucking died in there.
So
in that closet.
No longer than 7 days.
Yeah. After that incident, she died 3 days after that.
Because it takes about 7 days to die without water.
Yeah.
So she was in there.
And there wasn't much air in there, and it was, like, really small, like, and cramped. So she died of dehydration, evidently. Like, in June of 1985. And the kids said they all heard, like, a thump, like, which I guess was her, like, falling over. Or, that's when she died or whatever. And she's like, and then she left the body in there for another 3 days. Like, I'm...
Bitch crazy.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if she just didn't know she was dead, or it's like, but they're like, she was in there. You could hear her, like, crying and stuff. And then, like, you couldn't hear her anymore, like, one day. And, and they pretty much all knew she was dead. But, like, nobody opened the door to check or anything like that. And basically, they're like, well, it just started to smell in there. And that was when they went and checked. So Theresa said, okay, we'll go in there, and said to William and Robert, the sons, you need to go in there and get rid of the body. Because, it's stinking the whole house out, pretty much.
Mhm.
So they put Sheila in a box.
And the sons are older than 20. They got to be 24, 25 by now, huh?
Yeah, how old were the sons at this stage?
I thought they were older than the daughters.
I think one of them was.
Okay.
And then maybe the other one was younger. I can't remember, like, the birth order. But they weren't that far apart in age. I remember that. So they put her in a box. This box was from, like, I think it was from, like, a movie theater. Like, it had, like, popcorn boxes or popcorn cups or something in it. And just, like, put her in that box and just take her and, like, dump her somewhere. So they dumped her in this box, like, out near the Truckee Tahoe airport. And again, passersby found it not too long after it had been dumped, actually. But again, this body was also not identified, and was another Jane Doe.
Did they set that body on fire too?
No.
They didn't? Okay.
No. Just the
I
first.
got them confused.
Just the first one.
Yeah. I thought she was in a box and set on fire.
No, the first one, I'm pretty sure she was not in a box. She was just, like, tied up and on top of bags, like, because her stuff was in bags. Because they burned all her stuff too.
Yeah.
The second girl was in a box.
But they thought they were fucking clever to put all that stuff in the bags underneath the body, kind of like, oh, they'll never figure out where she came from. Well, I guess they didn't.
Not for a long time.
Yeah, I guess.
And actually, if Terry hadn't come forward, they might not have ever solved that. They might not have ever figured it out if she hadn't come forward. Like, maybe they would have, but I doubt it.
I guess it's hard to find a murdered person if the family doesn't complain.
Yeah. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah, so if the family's not complaining, you don't have anywhere to start the investigation.
Yeah, like, you can put all the shit on there you want. Like, hey, like, we have a description of this person that this dead person that we found had this, that jewelry or whatever. But it's like, if the family was the one that did it, they're not going to come forward, are they?
Yeah.
So it's like, you might never solve that.
Right. You would now. DNA.
Yeah, but like I said,
figure out
this was the 80s.
If your cousin did a fucking DNA test, they'll figure that shit out. They go, oh, okay, we know the family this came from. Yeah. Yeah,
but back then, like I said, neither one of them was identified. And it was kind of like a year apart. Yeah. And I don't even think they initially linked them. They just thought it was, they were unrelated because there had been so much time between. Now, so because the house still smelled like a dead person, because she'd been in there for several days, Theresa started getting scared that she was going to get busted. So they got all their shit out of the place, and she told Terry, burn the place down. Go scorched earth, I guess. Yeah. So Terry did what she was told. She took some lighter fluid and set the place on fire. But the neighbors reported the fire as soon as they saw smoke, so the firefighters should have put it out. So it's like it really didn't.
It's stupid as shit.
Yeah, it didn't really burn.
They didn't know how to clean anything.
Yeah.
You can clean anything.
They said even the closet where Sheila died wasn't even. It didn't even get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So not only they didn't know how to clean, they didn't know how to burn anything down either.
No. Well, like I said, their neighbors. I think it was they lived fairly close by, so it's like obviously most neighbors, if they see smoke coming out your window, are going to call the police. Right. I mean, they're going to call the fire department, obviously. So after that, Theresa basically took off, and decided she was going to go on the lam or into hiding. Which, like I said, she wasn't stupid. I mean, she knew that she would get in trouble, so she wasn't that delusional, even though she thought they were witches and demons and shit. But she's like, yeah, I gotta go fucking hide somewhere. Now, at this point...
So she abandons all her kids, I guess.
Well, not quite. William, one of the sons that had participated in the stuff, and Howard, who was the oldest one, they just took off because they were, in their, they're 18, 19, 20 at that point, too. So they were just like, all right, fuck off. I don't want anything to do with this bullshit anymore. Yeah. Terry, who was 16 at the time, she actually took Sheila's ID because they looked kind of alike, and used that like to also escape because, you know, Sheila had been 20, 21. So she took her ID and stuff and like went and, you know, she was a legal adult. So the only one that stayed with Theresa for whatever reason was Robert, who was then 19. Now they went out to Vegas for a little while. And in 1991, Robert Knorr Jr., the son, he got arrested because he went into a bar in Las Vegas and was going to do a holdup, and he shot the bartender dead, like during the robbery. So he got arrested for that, and I think he got 16 years. He got sentenced to 16 years.
So that was one of the boys?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he immediately didn't know how to function in society, went out and committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He probably thought all that shit was normal. Shit, people were normal. Shit, he saw his mom doing it.
Yeah, that's what's fucked up about this whole situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after he got arrested, Theresa like left Las Vegas and she went to Salt Lake City in Utah. Now in 1992, she actually got a driver's license under the name Theresa Jimmie Cross. Cross was her maiden name. And this is fucking crazy. She started working as an in-home caretaker for an 86-year-old woman.
Oh, shit.
And her employer said that she was awesome. Like, she was the best caretaker ever, super compassionate. She's really good at her job. I don't think she had, like, any qualifications for it or anything like that. But she just went and started doing that, and they said she was, like, super good at it, like, taking care of this 86-year-old woman.
Well, she knew how to compartmentalize.
This fucking nutcase.
Yeah, nutcase. Yeah.
That was fucking crazy to me that she went and got a job
Murdered
doing
her own
that.
children, though.
Yeah, in like
it's crazy.
Fucking horrible way possible.
It's crazy, yeah.
So now, for almost 10 years, the two daughters' bodies were unidentified. They were just Jane Doe's. And for a little while, they kind of thought that one of the cases was linked to like a serial killer who was a truck driver, Benjamin Boyle. But, you know, obviously that didn't go anywhere because we know who killed him. And, you know, after that, and everyone just kind of forgot about it. Forgot about the whole thing. Now, that probably would have been how it stayed. Unless, like, but it so happened that Terry, who was the youngest daughter, like I said, she ran away. She used Sheila's ID to pass as an adult. She obviously had a lot of issues. She, you know, was only 16 when she ran away, so she didn't really have a lot of tools to operate in the real world.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think they went to school, did they?
Up until about 8th grade.
Yeah, you're right.
Terry might have gotten some less, like, but she pulled them all out of school.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So Terry had a hard time. She had some drug problems. She was homeless for a while. She got arrested for various things. I don't think super anything major, but you know what I mean? Now, yeah, I mean, like, how could you? Like, growing up in that fucking environment, I can't even imagine. Now, by the time the late 80s rolled around, she was actually trying to report the shit. Like, she went to therapy and she told therapists about it. She tried to tell cops about it. You know, she told them what had happened to Susan, what had happened to Sheila, how her brothers were forced to participate, and even gave them, like, specifics. You know what I mean? She's like, hey, if you find, you know, this body, like, she's gonna have, like, this thing in her back where they dug this bullet out and shit like that. Sadly, for many years, no one really believed her. I guess it kind of sounded crazy, and, you know, they just thought, oh, here's this homeless drug addict chick, like, telling us this wild story, and they didn't really believe her.
They didn't see her as a credible source.
No.
She was deniable.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And they said even when she went to therapy, and, like, you'd think that at least therapists would be, like, at least slightly more sympathetic. Like, even they were kind of like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's like maybe she's a fantasist, or she's just making all this stuff up. And
just understandable. I mean, this is on the outside extreme shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't be inclined to think that you would meet somebody that went through this.
Yeah, because this is, like I said, it's way beyond the pale. Like, if somebody told you this story, I can understand. I'm not excusing all the authorities because they absolutely dropped the ball in this case.
But they had no info.
But they didn't have any info.
All
It's like
bodies.
they don't know what we know.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they had linked her story to those bodies because it had been so long ago. Like, by the time she was telling stuff, this was years later.
She probably didn't even know how to report it.
Yeah, she might not have.
She
tried.
Police says, "You look, this body and this body, that's my sister's."
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened. She eventually had the skills to do that, but it probably took her a while.
And I think it had to get to a point too where people actually would kind of, because she had so many details, I think they eventually just had to listen to her.
Yeah. She could explain the bodies, the fucking conditions of the bodies, why certain, and they, from what I remember, that's when they started to really believe that, yeah, this must be who that must be her sisters.
And I think the thing about it too is that, you know, she first started reporting the shit like in the late 80s, and nobody believed her for like 4 or 5 years, and that fucked with her even worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think that, I mean, that obviously didn't help her fucking problems either, because she's like, I'm trying to tell people and nobody believes me.
Once DNA come out, you can easily do the check. There, you can see yeah. That's her sisters.
So then, in late October of 1993, Terry's 23 years old at this point. She happened to be watching America's Most Wanted. And there wasn't anything on America's Most Wanted that was specifically about her case or anything. But she somehow got the idea when she was watching that show. She's like, I'm going to call this show. You know what I mean? She's like, this isn't the case that they're talking about. It's the, you know, isn't my case, but maybe they'll believe me, you know, because they have people calling, they have a hotline, you know what I mean? So she called the show and told them all about it. She told them like the whole story and said, please call up detectives in Placer County, which is where the shit had happened. And thankfully, the staff of the show actually did take her story seriously and, you know, went to the authorities and everything like that. And that kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah, we've done shows on America's Most Wanted, and a lot of the cases that we did, we mentioned America's Most Wanted. Back in the day, that show was epic, and it was creepy.
Man, everybody watched it.
And everybody watched it. It was kind of like the Academy Awards for criminals.
If you turned up on America's Most Wanted,
they got your ass.
You were getting caught.
You were
like,
getting caught. Pretty much.
Like pretty much the next day.
You were going to get caught.
Because everybody be calling, I seen that motherfucker.
Because it was before the internet, and
everybody
was watching it.
Everybody watched that.
Yeah. And that really, that was almost like proto-internet. Because everybody was watching it, people across the countries could make connections between states and everything. Oh, I know that motherfucker, you know. Oh, yeah. And then they'd start calling in and they would make the connection and solve a case. It happened fast. And nowadays, it's just the internet that does it.
Yeah.
But back in the television era, when you only have 4 or 5 channels, America's Most Wanted was fucking unstoppable. And it was a great show.
And that was the one that dude started. That was Adam Walsh's dad, right?
Yeah, and they do UFO shit, paranormal stuff every now and then, which they also did great.
Did they? I feel like that was more Unsolved Mysteries, but did America's Most Wanted do that?
Oh, Unsolved Mysteries. That's right.
Yeah.
No, America's Most Wanted. That's right. It was just crime.
That was just crime.
But America's Most Wanted
because they were trying to catch motherfuckers.
Yeah, I got confused. Yeah, America's Most Wanted, but it was just as powerful as Unsolved.
Like I said, because they had a huge audience.
Huge audience, yeah.
And like I said, if they featured somebody on the show, like usually they would get like
Adam
a bajillion.
Walsh's dad.
Yeah, we did a show about Adam Walsh, that kid that was kidnapped back in the 80s.
Right.
Like from a mall in South Florida, and then they found him like beheaded.
Yeah. Unsolved Mysteries.
6.
Unsolved Mysteries was the same situation though.
Yeah, but they did paranormal shit too.
They would. Yeah,
America's Most Wanted.
They were a little bit older. Unsolved Mysteries was a little bit older, but they'd crack a lot of cases too. But once Unsolved Mysteries came out, once America's Most Wanted came out, that was just crime, and they could help solve shit pretty quick. The only ones that weren't quick were some of the serial killers.
Yeah, those were always
harder to catch. Yeah,
but the thing about it is that the fact that Terry called up and she knew like roughly where the bodies had been dumped. She very correctly like said what the injuries would be. Like I said, it's like, you know, my one sister would have like a scar, like, you know, an injury on her back. They dug a bullet out of her, and like everything she said lined up with the two Jane Does that they had found that had been unidentified for almost 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know who they were. So finally, when, you know, the staff like directed her to the correct authorities and they kind of got everything on the same page, it was pretty quick because all of her shit was corroborated, and they're like, holy crap, we need to fucking find this fucking woman. You know what I mean? So it happened pretty fast, like after that breakthrough. And like I said, just thank God that like Terry fucking kept going, and thank God like the people at America's Most Wanted like fucking believed her, because nobody else had. She'd been trying to like tell them for years and years, and no one was doing anything. So so basically once they got all their ducks in a row, they're like, all right, we're gonna go find these fucking people. So they actually apprehended William, I believe, first, one of the brothers. He got arrested in November of 1993 at his work. He was in Woodland, California. They also found Robert, the other brother, and arrested him also. And Theresa, they couldn't find her for a little while because remember how I said she'd moved to Salt Lake City and she was going under her maiden name and was working for the 86-year-old lady. She was working as an in-home caregiver, which is crazy to me. They eventually did track her down because I think like on her it was something about her driver's license, like the thing she had the form she'd filled out to get the driver's license. And they found her that way. It had an address on it, and they actually went to that address and she was there. Like that's where she lived, and they were like, okay, come with us. You're coming with us right now. And I think somebody mentioned this before, or I mentioned it before. After they arrested Theresa Knorr, they started looking into, you know, her past, and they found that in 1983, Theresa's sister, Rosemary, like remember that her sister that she was jealous of when she was growing up, was found strangled to death, and her body was dumped also in Placer County back in 1983. And so for a little while, they're like, that seems like a little bit of a coincidence. Maybe fucking Theresa did that shit too. You know, because like I said, there did seem to be some sibling rivalry going on there. However, she was investigated as a suspect, but she was never charged. I've seen some sources say that she was cleared of suspicion. I don't know if that's the case, but she wasn't charged with anything. But it is still unsolved as far as I'm aware. It could just be a coincidence, but I don't know. That seems a little weird, but I don't know. It could just be a coincidence. She could have just been killed by a serial killer or somebody. I don't know. But her sister got murdered too. Theresa's did, which is fucking crazy. So yeah. So at this point, they as they would, because they arrested the two sons too, who had, you know, helped dispose of the bodies. They offered them plea bargains, obviously, as like lesser sentence if you testify against your mom, and both of them agreed to do that. And the trial, like as trials go, it actually like went through the system like pretty fast. Which, you know, fair play to everyone involved. Like I'm glad that once they actually got the ball rolling, they did get the shit going, like as quickly as possible. So Theresa got charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, obviously, also conspiracy to commit murder, and California law at that time, and probably still nowadays, also has special circumstances, multiple murder, and murder involving torture, which obviously would give you a larger sentence. And so she got charged with that too. So she was actually at first eligible for the death penalty. William and Robert also, like I said, they pleaded down, but they were still gonna get some time for being accessory, and you know their whole being involved in the body disposal and whatever. So they obviously extradited Theresa because she was in Utah. They took her back to California, held her without bail. Terry testified, William testified, and they did have some physical evidence from the cases that aligned with their stories. They found the wound on Susan's back, you know, the fact that Terry knew where the bodies were dumped, all this other kind of stuff. And they did have some medical and school records that corroborated the abuse like leading up to that. You know what I mean? So I think William, he was the one that had burned Susan's body, he pleaded guilty and testified against his mom. He just basically got probation and psychological counseling, like mandatory. Robert got accessory after the fact. He also testified against his mom, and I'm not really sure what he just got like a little bullshit sentence. Like they didn't really do much of anything to
They
them.
weren't after the boys.
Yeah, they weren't. Because I kind of feel like yes, they were old enough to know better.
Maybe not under those circumstances.
But I feel like the circumstances of this were so extreme.
Yeah, they might not have been mentally developed enough.
Mm-mm.
So even though they were over the age of 18, they were probably mentally still children and fucked up kids, really, at that time.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of... And the dynamic that Theresa fostered in the house, like I said, was
like
one...
a cult.
Yeah, it was like constantly like narking on one another, and it's just like, if you don't do this, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. So she had like a lot of psychological control over them.
Well, it's also a divide and conquer. They're getting the
yeah,
kids to
she
hate
did
each
that
other,
too.
getting them to rat each other out and to hate each other. So all the division
it's
gives her power, and the kids are blinded. They don't have enough experience. They don't know what the hell's going on. They don't realize that they're under the control of a fucking psycho.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm not saying they should get off scot-free, but I think the plea deals was the best possible scenario. Like, they agreed that they were going to testify against their mom because that's, the instigator. That's who they wanted.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, no, the kids weren't to blame.
And I mean, honestly, Robert, shot a dude. So he got prison time for that anyway.
Well, yeah, for that. That's one thing. But
yeah,
I'm talking about the kids aren't to blame because they're not rational enough. They don't know enough this is normal for them. This is how they were raised. They needed to be straightened out, and she couldn't straighten them out. And institutions can't really straighten them out either. They needed fucking mentoring,
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This kind of dysfunctional family dynamic, this is very extreme. But still, it's very common to have a bad functional dynamic in very poor families.
Yeah,
that can barely survive, and people are on the edge of going out.
It's just so much stress.
There's so much, and they're not the parents are not very intelligent. They don't come from good backgrounds. They don't have any resources.
They don't have the tools.
They don't have the tools to do anything, and their kids are just doomed.
It's sad.
Yeah, a good example, but they can be salvaged. A good example is that movie that we watched, The Florida Project, with all those fucking real poor people living in a hotel in Florida. It had a good cast, good movie, and fucking accurate. They got that shit around here.
That is like painfully accurate.
Yeah,
I remember,
that's the way it is.
And I remember like this set in the modern day, but I remember like when I was growing up, like shit being like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of sad stories come out of those situations, but a lot of good people come out of those stories too. Some people come out of that.
Yeah, I mean, you only hear the bad stuff.
You only hear the bad stuff.
I kind of feel like that's why human beings, just in general, we're sort of, just for survival reasons, we're geared toward. Well, no, we're geared toward concentrating more on negative shit.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to think, one bad thing happens, it's like, oh my god, like everything's going to hell and shit like that. But that's only because you don't hear about the good stuff, because you don't hear about it. You know what I mean? People are just out there living their lives being normal. You only hear about the one crackhead that like shoots up a school or whatever, and it's just kind of like, you hear about that, and it feels like, oh, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. But you don't hear about like 100, 200 other kids in that same dude's class that didn't do anything, that were totally fine.
Yeah, and you got
because that's boring, I guess.
You got people that come out of situations like in the Florida Project movie, which is like you got kids that come out of that situation that end up fine.
Yeah, in fact, I would argue that most of them probably end up
fine.
Probably maybe not thriving, maybe they're still poor, but they end up fine.
What happens a lot of times is by the time they're 17 or 18, they're kind of street tough, but they if there's anything to them, they end up falling in with a better crowd of people, and they kind of gravitate more towards a situation that is more especially if it's good-looking girls. Good-looking girls usually get picked up by a guy who's of a little bit more means, and she's younger and she's looking good, and he gets her out of that situation, and then she makes something out of herself. The guys, if there's anything to them, as long as he didn't have a criminal record, a lot of them can go into the service. They can do other shit. They can join. They can become get involved in construction. Next thing you know, motherfuckers making $100,000 a year in construction.
Well, they just have a regular ass life.
Just
Like I
have
said,
regular life,
and you just
yes.
don't hear about them.
You just don't hear about it
because they're just living a regular ass life like the rest of us.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't attract attention.
Yeah,
But there's many people that come from those backgrounds.
that's what I mean.
They're
That's
fine.
why, like, when we do shows about serial killers, and it's like, you know, yes, the large majority of, not all of them, but the large majority of them did have horrible abusive childhoods.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that sadly, lots of kids came from abusive households.
Yeah.
The vast majority of them do not become serial killers. They, you know, they might be fucked up, or they might, but they're usually okay.
Yeah, and another thing is that when you're talking about in the United States, the very low income people, like we're talking about in the Florida Project movie, I would say most of them are not abusive. Most of those parents are not abusive. Most of them parents love their kids.
Yeah, of course.
They're actually good. They're trying
Most
to be
people
good.
love their kids.
They just don't
It's
have any
normal.
money.
Yeah.
And
Which
sometimes
makes everything a lot harder.
Makes it a lot more harder, right? Yeah.
That's
So,
all it is. It's just, it's added stresses that people with more money don't have.
The movie's about a young girl who's got kids. One kid. And she didn't have any money, though. She's living in this hotel, and she turns to prostitution. And she loses the kid.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's the beginning of a different story. The kid goes to foster home.
But she wasn't abusive to the kid.
She wasn't abusive to the kid. She loved the kid.
She was just putting the kid in, like, bad situations, but not maliciously.
Not maliciously. She was just doing whatever she could to try to get the money to pay the rent and to fucking make sure the kid was having fun and being fed.
Yeah.
The mother will do anything to make sure the kid's.
Yeah. And like I said, that's true of
yeah.
most people, unless they're like this bitch.
Right. Normally not like this.
No, this is, like I said, this is a wild extreme.
And if you've seen that movie, there's a lot of stories like that. And the kid ends up being okay. And even the mama ends up being okay. It was just a temporary bad situation. A few years later, it passes.
Yeah, like I said,
the situation changes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always harder, like, to live in poverty. It's not great, and a lot of people don't get out of it because the way that society's kind of engineered to make sure that you don't. But
well, it's a kind of like a, what do they call it?
But most of them don't.
Negative feedback.
Yeah.
It's like you're poor, so you don't develop you're on the edge of survival. You tend not to develop certain social skills that you need in order to get out of that. And you don't get the professional skills to get
it's like
out
a
of that.
self-fulfilling.
It's like, and then because you can't do that, it gets worse.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a break, though, and it's harder when you're older. It's easier when you're younger.
Yeah.
Because when you're younger, you're cuter. And the chances of you getting fucking saved or rescued by friends is higher. When you're middle-aged, nah.
Yeah. No one really gives crap about you anymore.
Nobody's interested in you, you know. So there's a time limit.
Yeah.
If you're an able-bodied young man who's bright, even though you come from a rough background, no, you got a future. There's many organizations that'd hire you just for your sweat. You know what I mean? If you're willing to take the fucking risk. If you're a pretty girl who's young, yeah, you can get out of the situation. If you have the skills, you meet the right guy. You know, and if you're charming enough, which that happens a lot.
Yeah, and like I said, the opposite happens too, where you get in like a bad situation where
it just snowballs.
You hook up with somebody that you think is a nice guy, and then they end up not being a nice guy.
He's going to use you,
and then it just gets worse and worse. So that happens too. I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that I kind of feel like because humans are just by their nature like so focused on the negative, it's very easy to think that like every situation is going to end up like the worst possible outcome. And I kind of feel like that's normally not what happens.
Yeah,
you just don't hear about the people that were fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's boring. Nobody wants to hear about that.
No.
You only hear about the sob stories or the horrific shit like this.
The worst. That's not that's not the normal.
So it kind of gives you a skewed perspective.
Yeah.
Because most people are just regular. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, and everything turns out okay. You know, more or less.
Yeah, there have been times where fucking our families didn't have any money when we were little kids. But
Yeah.
you get out of that eventually.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like when
We
I
lived
grew
in a
up,
big
it's
old
like
nice house and shit, you know.
yeah, when I grew up, like, you
Yeah.
know, we grew up in a trailer and, you know,
Yeah.
played out in the mud in the front yard. We lived out in the fucking country.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, you know, I got kind of bullied at school for having like hand-me-down clothes and shit like that. But it's just kind of like, it didn't really bother me all that much. Like, it kind of bothered me a little bit, but it's like, I wasn't bothered. And my parents were so invested in, you know, us being better, like, you know, they were always giving me books and making sure like I had,
Yeah.
you know, lying about our address so I could go to better schools and shit like that. Like, they were always trying to like game the system,
Yeah.
like, so we could have better opportunities. So, you know, it's possible to do that kind of shit. I
Yeah.
don't, you know, it's probably not the same anymore, but that's how it was back
In our
the 70s.
generation, with Generation X, we were, most of us were born to very young parents.
Yeah, my parents were 18 when
They
I
were
was born.
very young, and
They were
broke,
just out of high school.
and they were broke. You know what I mean? And they were just doing what they could do. Yeah. And so, you know, we kind of seen it all. They ended up good. We ended up good. We all kind of moved up.
Yeah, I turned out okay.
Yeah.
Actually, and I have, you know, 3 younger siblings, and they all turned out, they're all wonderful, lovely people.
By the time I was 15, I was balling. Because my mother married a rich man.
Yeah, I never had that happen, but yeah.
And I was in Brazil. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, we were balling before that because she joined the State Department. Then she married a rich man.
Yeah.
She met him in Brazil. He was an American businessman down there. So that's how I had such the weird background before I met Gramper later on. He's in the comment section.
Yeah, you definitely did have a weird...
Oh, my background's fucking bizarre.
It is, yeah, it's all over the place.
It's all over the place.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. I was original passport bro before they had that.
Yeah, kind of.
And fucking looks maxing. And fucking doing all, and gothing out and everything. I did all that shit. Yeah. I was a pioneer.
So yeah.
Yeah,
What?
passport bro, books, maxing. What else did I do? LARPing. And I've done everything. I had a good life. It was fun.
I think you're brag maxing now.
Brag maxing. Brag maxing. Fucking. Hey, you just do it. You just do it. It's part of the entertainment. I'm fucking drunk too.
Because that looks maxing thing is so fucking lame. It's just kind of. It's like I find it very amusing to just add maxing on the end of everything.
Yeah,
it has to have 2 X's.
Maxing. Yeah, maxing. Yeah.
So it's like whatever you're doing.
Looks maxing.
Are you?
No, be good looking if you can. It's just that fucking, you know, there's got to be.
Don't break your jaw with a hammer, though. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I heard. What are they doing? They're breaking their jaws with hammers.
So they heal back to look more like a Chad jar or whatever.
Is that what it is?
Whatever their fucking stupid terminology is, like, you know what I mean.
You can be good looking. It's just that you got to be something to it.
Well, the dumbass thing is that looks maxing is not a word that needs to exist because it's just kind of like, well, no, what I'm saying is that, like, if you just want to better yourself or you want to look better, just like women have been wearing makeup and shit and getting plaid, just call it that. Like, they just don't want to call it that because it sounds gay, I guess. So it's like, so they have to come up with some like word with 2 X's in it, like to make it sound more manly or some shit.
That's what kids do. That's kids trying to make.
That's what I mean. It's very childlike.
Look, any of you bitches doing that shit, fucking, you got to understand something. Fucking
ridiculous.
Bodybuilding is not a sport.
Well, no.
There's no goals. There's no scores, or there's you know what I mean.
It's like not even bowling.
No, and it came from Mr. America. It's a beauty pageant.
It is.
It's a beauty pageant. It's a male beauty pageant.
It's okay.
Just own it. That's what those dudes are all about. Arnold and shit. Motherfucker was gorgeous. It was who and then Olympia. You're a godlike fucking gorgeous dude. It was a beauty contest. Get over it.
This is the same logic that it's like if you've ever watched The Toys That Made Us, which everybody should watch that because it's super fun. But it's just kind of like when they did G.I. Joe, they were just kind of, well, Barbie had been so successful, so they're like, well, we want to do boys' toys. We want to do a doll for boys. We can't call it a doll. It's an action figure.
Yeah.
It's a doll.
It's a fucking doll.
It's a fucking doll.
It's a fucking doll.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just call it a doll. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like, it's better now, obviously, but it's like men back then, boys back then were so scared of something being for girls or girly that they had to come up with a whole ass different terminology for the same fucking thing. And looks maxing gives me that same energy.
What it is. And bodybuilding competitions are beauty contests.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Nothing wrong with
they're
that.
judges.
It's just call it what it is.
Just call it what it is. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that because there's nothing inherently inferior.
Saying male, but if you want to say male, instead of saying male beauty, you just say aesthetics.
Aesthetics, yeah.
Aesthetics.
You have to come up
He
with a
has the
different
male aesthetic.
word for everything.
You gotta have another thing. Yeah, that's your fucking way of weaseling out of it.
It's so
The
funny.
male
That's so
aesthetic.
funny to me.
Yeah.
That's just very funny to me. Because I'm like, same fucking thing.
Beauty.
If you can't deal with that, I'm sorry. But it's like, it's the same fucking thing. The fact that you have to come up with a whole new dictionary words for the same fucking thing.
To protect your masculinity.
So fragile. So it's very, very funny. Okay, so this bitch here had the audacity, had the balls or the ovaries or whatever, to plead not guilty at first. And she went the route, or at least her and her defense team did, of I'm the victim here. Because of course she did. You know she was gonna do that. Basically, like, I went through all these abusive marriages, which, that may have been true to some extent. Like I said, not really an excuse. I had to raise all these kids on my own. These kids were such a nightmare. Like, what, poor me, wah. It was kind of like that. She basically said, well, what the kids are saying, that's totally exaggerated. That's not really what happened. I was just trying really hard. We were really poor. I was single, mom, yada, yada. So she was trying to like get sympathy, you know what I mean? And they didn't try to do an insanity defense. I guess they didn't. I mean, that's kind of hard to prove anyway. I kind of feel like, I don't even know if they ever did a formal psychiatric breakdown of her, but from what I've seen of reports of like psychiatrists that have looked into it, like I said, not psychotic because she did kind of know what she was doing, but for sure like narcissistic or borderline personality disorder at the very least, among other things, is usually what I hear thrown around. So like I said, Terry and the brothers and everything like that, I kind of feel like their testimony was, kind of pivotal to the whole case. They also had like a lot of, physical evidence that they still had from the bodies. And as I kind of feel like with all the preliminary shit that was going on, even though, she was going to plead not guilty at first, I kind of feel like because the prosecution's case was so strong, the defense basically came to her and said, you might want to just plead guilty because it's just really not looking good. And so basically before all of the shit started, Theresa changed her plea to guilty on the condition that she not get the death penalty. That was like with the deal they gave her, I guess. And they said, but you're going to get a life sentence though. And she said, okay. So that's what she did. She just went and pleaded guilty, and they gave her 2 consecutive life sentences with no parole. And basically, like I said, the judge it's not the same judge this time. He's dead. He's probably dead this time. It wasn't the same judge that did the murder trial and like 3 or 4 of her divorces, which is fucking crazy. That was the same judge every time. But he was just like, this was such a heinous crime, and especially because it was a mom and these were her kids, and obviously that's gonna be like a big fucking thing. So she got sent to the California Institution for Women in Chino, California, and has been there since 1995. And she gives interviews every now and then, but as far as I'm aware, she never has expressed any remorse for anything that she did. She just kind of minimizes everything, or blames other things, blames other people,
those damn
or
kids,
the situation.
The kids were bad.
Yeah. So it seems like she's never really taken responsibility for all of the horrible shit that she did. So she's 80 years old as of this live stream. Now, even though I think like this original sentence was life without parole, I think some kind of law changed or something like that, and they said she might be eligible for parole consideration next year, but considering the shit that she did, I don't think they're ever.
No, they're never gonna let her
They're
out.
never gonna let her out.
No.
Like I said, especially since she's hasn't repented or said she was sorry or even seemed to like make any sort of even cursory statements toward
She's 80. If they let her go, she'll
it's-
just die quicker.
Yeah, there's just no
She,
fucking way.
no. She's in there where she can get medical fucking.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to worry about getting a job. They're taking care of her.
I mean, she's been in there since the 90s. I'm sure she's probably fucking used to it by now.
For all you know, she's months away from being in hospice. She's not going anywhere.
I mean, the last picture of her, I saw, I don't know how old she was in it, but she looks like hell.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That picture might have been a few years old.
And she's old enough to be living in the infirmary.
Oh, yeah.
So she lives in the prison hospital.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So after she was imprisoned, this is pretty sad, but Terry, the daughter that blew the whistle on the whole thing, and like I said, had she not come forward or kept pushing like to get people to listen to her, I don't know if this would have ever been solved. You know what I mean? Or maybe it would have, but it would have taken a lot longer.
She got justice for her
so
sister.
So she's like a hero, I feel like. And the sad thing is that she was on a bunch of documentaries and stuff like that, and on a bunch of she did a bunch of interviews. She was on Cold Case Files. She was on a bunch of other stuff. She was married a couple of times, and she sadly had a little bit of a repeat where she had some domestic violence going on in some of her relationships also, which sadly is very common. But she died in 2011. She was only 41 years old of heart failure. So that's kind of a bummer. I'm sure her fucking shit she went through in her life.
About how old I was, and she would have been the same time. She was born around 69, around that time.
Yeah, I think she was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2011. She was 41 years old, and she died of fucking heart failure, which is fucking sad. So William, who is one of the brothers, that obviously was, helped dispose of the bodies. He got probation, and he basically, I don't even know what happened to him after that. He I guess he just went on and lived a normal life. He got married. He had kids. He's been interviewed on a couple shows as well. He was on Evil Lives Here, and that's about all I know about him. Robert, like I said, he had spent some time in prison because of that robbery that he did where he shot the bartender. He got 3 years, and that was served concurrently with the 16 years he got for shooting the bartender. That was in Nevada. So he got out in 2013. However, in 2016, he got another 8 years in prison for, guess what? Possession of kitty prawns.
Okay.
So
that's how they roll.
Jesus Christ. The oldest son, Howard, who I believe had already moved out of the house by the time the worst shit happened. They actually don't know much about him. He's keeping a pretty low profile, which, I can't say I fucking blame him about that. But yeah, I really didn't see much about him. I don't think he's really given much interviews or anything like that. So there's been a couple books about this. There was one that came out in 1993 called Mother's Day, which a lot of people have referenced. There was another one called Whatever Mother Says. Both of them are on Amazon. And like I said, there's a bunch of YouTube documentaries about it. And it was on a bunch of true crime shows too. Deadly Women, Most Evil, Evil Lives Here. I think it was on Wicked Attraction. It was on like a couple of other shows like that. I love Evil Lives Here, but I couldn't find this episode. It's the series is on Hulu and HBO Max, but they only have the 2 newest seasons. They're on like season 18 or some ridiculous shit like that. And this case was from like season 6 or something. So it's like, so they didn't have it on there. And like I said, there is a movie that came out in 2010 called The Afflicted, which is very loosely based on this case. It's on Tubi. I watched it earlier. It's not great. I didn't love it. And they do take some of the incidents that are in the movie are similar to what happened in real life, but they took a lot of poetic license, and the end of the movie is completely different. Like in the end of the movie, they do the murders similar to what really happened, but in the movie, the remaining daughter, they changed all the names, but I'm assuming it's supposed to be Terry, shoots her mom dead and then stabs her brother. I think there was one less kid in the movie, because in real life there was two brothers. Well, there was three, but Howard was gone, so there was two older brothers. In the movie, I think there was only one older brother who did help out, like with disposing of the bodies and stuff. And so she shot the mom and then stabbed the brother to death, and then she shot herself, which that is not what happened in real life. But that's what happened at the end of the movie. Sorry, I spoiled it. It's not a great movie. I didn't love it. It seemed like it got some good reviews, like here and there, but I thought it was a little overwrought and a little too, I don't know. I wasn't into it, but I was curious to see it anyway. So yeah, if you want to watch it, it's free, like on Tubi. So yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, this fucking woman. What the hell? I think I was like similarly speechless when we did the Sylvia Likens show, because I'm always like more freaked out when a woman does shit like this. I know I don't know, maybe that's a weird thing to say, but it's just kind of like, I write about this kind of shit all the time. I watch true crime all the time. It's like not surprising when a man does it, I guess, like to me. When a woman does something like especially this fucked up and this depraved, it's always like, because I'm a woman myself, I guess, and I can just kind of, I can never think of a situation where this would be anywhere near that this would cross my mind at all. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm a dude. And some of the shit serial killers think they do, that never crossed my mind either.
Yeah.
It's just that there tends to be, well, dudes are more active and aggressive. They're going to go out and do the things that they fucking want and think about, you know what I mean? And if you're some sicko serial killer and shit, you might be more apt to fucking act on what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's really the only difference.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like it's not weird to me, because like when I see shit like I'm not talking about those super most depraved serial killers that are like in a class by themselves, but I can kind of see where some of the serial killers just got from point A to point B, because it's just like, well, they're kind of thinking like a dude, but like to nth degree. You know what I mean? Like they're taking it to an extreme. But like when something like this happens, like I was like, what the fuck is going on in this woman's head that would make her, I don't know, it just seems like so out there and like so beyond the pale. Anything like how my brain would work, or I don't get it.
See, I don't see male serial killers, as a dude taking male behavior to the nth degree. I don't really see it that way. The way I see it is I see it as kind of normal male sexual behavior in terms of attraction to women. But for some reason, the dude's fucked up. He hates women.
Yeah.
So he's attracted to what he hates.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of situation where probably he's attracted to women, but he knows those women would reject him. They're not in his league. So instead of just going, oh, well, you know, out of my reach, he's like, fuck that. No, I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
She's doing something wrong against me, rejecting me. So I'm going to just steal it and kill her so she can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
That's basically all it is.
But like I said, see, it's a lot easier for me to get from point A to point, even though I obviously don't think like that, but it's easier for me to see how that progression happens. You know what I'm saying? Shit like this, does not make any sense to me.
Most of them are real business-like. They just get it done and over with. They're not even really into the killing aspect of it that much. But then they kind of get addicted to that. Now, the ones that are real sadistic, I think they just start out just being a rapist, basically. I'm just going to steal it.
Yeah.
But I'm a killer, so she can't tell anybody about it.
Yeah, that's.
But then you realize it's like, you know what? She didn't respect me. She thought I was a joke. You know, because a lot of times you look at the dude. Look at Gary Ridgway. It is a joke.
Yeah.
This what I'm going to do is I'm going to get her to respect me. I'm going to terrorize her first.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to kill her, or I'm going to torture her, and then because she deserves it. They're disrespecting me that way. That's the way they think. I think they think it's like a respect thing. Well, she doesn't fear me. Well, why would she fear you, dude? You look at you. You know what I mean? You're little, you're fat, fucking you're not any different than millions and millions of other little dudes. You don't even look scary. Because most of them don't even look scary. So that's how they slide underneath the radar.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a threat.
They don't look like a threat, yeah.
Yeah, but he wants to be a threat because for him that's power. We're like, dude, just look, go on a diet, get in shape, go to work. You know what I mean? Fucking get a woman within your means, have a normal relationship. But that's not what kind of dudes they are. That. Some of them can do both. Like the worst one, be fucking
like BTK.
BTK could do both, or actually, he's a chump. Actually,
no shit.
the only one that I was kind of like, dude had some skills, was the original Night Stalker. What's his name? Fucking
Joseph D'Angelo.
Yeah, Joseph D'Angelo.
Yeah.
That dude, I'd be worried about that guy. He had the skills of a commando. Break into your house and fucking set the scene, and he had law enforcement and military background and shit. Fucking he was dangerous. And why was he doing all that shit? He had a little dick.
Yeah, I mean that's
little dick.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, he had a little dick. He felt he didn't measure up, as a man, and couldn't get respect, and so he couldn't get respect and admiration from the chicks. So he's just gonna get fear from him and terror, power. He lusted for power because he felt he didn't have any power. Man, there's all kinds of little dick motherfuckers out here that are successful women got power. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, and I kind of feel like, too,
where
there's kind of, I think a lot of the underlying issue is that there's a certain type of person that can't handle the fact that we're all just regular ass people. Yeah. Like, we're not king of the world. We're not special. We're not this, that, and the other. And that's fine. Like, that's just most people. Just be regular. Just be a regular person. Do shit that you like. Hang out with people that you like. Just have a regular ass life. I kind of feel like there's this certain type of person that it's like they have to be better. They have to be special.
They try
have
to be more than what they are.
They try to be more.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I feel like that is really setting you up for failure and also for shit like that. If you get warped in that direction.
I never would say, hey, don't try to be more than what you are, because I believe in self-improvement. Fuck, if you want to go
I don't mean it like that.
Yeah, you want to learn how to fucking dress.
Yeah, you should always try to
fucking get in shape. Yeah,
you should always do that, but that's not what I'm talking about.
There's always going to be certain things about you can't change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just going to have to work with what you got.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
And that happens. Yeah, it happens all the time. And fucking in the end, something like dick size and shit. I mean, I fucking feel bad talking about it, fucking, because there's videos of me out there, fucking. So it's like, well, I don't have problems like that. So I who am I to put myself in a fucking dude's position that's in that position? But no, I know for a fact there are dudes out there that are they're hung like a chipmunk, but fucking they got a lot of friends and will live a good life. They got women that love them and shit. It's because most women aren't. That's not really the big priority.
No,
that would help, but that's not the big priority.
I mean, women don't care about that nearly as much as men.
Do. Dudes are gonna make it more,
not by a long shot.
Yeah, especially if some dude's getting off into porn and believing about porn titles and fucking thinking porn is reality.
Yeah, that's another big thing.
Yeah, now there's diminishing returns on dick size. Okay, they got size queens out there, and those are stunt women. All right, and some women can fucking adapt to that and fucking are into that. It's a psychological fucking kink. Most women don't give a shit. They want something more just regular size. They got some women that like this shit big though, and there's to each his own. Yeah, I like big titties. Big ass, that's just how it is. I don't have to have that though. That's the weird thing. I've been with flat chicks and women just love the shit out of them because there was just other things about them. You know what I mean? Because they're people.
I mean, everybody has preferences, but you never really know who's gonna ring your bell in that particular way.
You meet some girls not saying what you're looking for, but she's cool though.
Yeah.
She looks good.
And I kind of feel like that's a pretty universal.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of like that. Yeah.
That's why I kind of hate. That's why I always say I don't really have a type or anything like that, because it's just like it's really reductive, and it's like I don't really know until I meet them.
I have types, many
You do.
types, but there is exceptions. Sometimes you meet a girl that's not in your type, but she kind of becomes your type because you like it.
Yeah.
So women are the same way. They're probably more like that than guys are.
I probably feel like in
Yeah.
general I think they
Yeah.
are. Women are a lot more
Flexible.
I kind of feel like in that way. But yeah, so like I said, that's why I kind of feel like that's why it's generally still better to meet people in real life rather than use dating apps. And I know some people have found people over dating apps. I'm not shitting on dating apps entirely, but the thing about dating apps is that everything is reduced to just photos and statistics and shit like that, and you can't get a vibe of that person like just from that.
Guys are checking off of fucking dating apps because it's useless for most guys. The only guys that have good...
I think they're generally pretty useless.
They're useless. The only guys that do well on them are guys that are at the very fucking top. They look great. They're young. They have a lot of money. They do very well. If you're not,
but they probably don't even need that.
No. They are not trying to settle down. They're using that as a hookup.
A hookup tool, yeah.
So even the girls that are trying to find it, they get fucked over by that dude.
Yeah, so it's just like, I don't think it's...
She's just on the roster. You get out for them fucking dating apps. You're better fucking just having a really cool Instagram and going to the fucking local club and meeting friends at the club.
Or just go somewhere, like I said, that's something that you like.
Yeah.
Like go hang out with other people that like what you like.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just kind of like, because it's really hard to get like the measure of a person just online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't know what their vibe is like in person. Yeah. It's completely different. So, and and everybody's gonna lie on their fucking shit. And like I said, it just reduces everybody to like a little list.
What it reduces men to is how tall are you and how much money do you make? And what do you weigh? Do you have a six-pack? That's it.
That's it.
With women, what it reduces to is how well can you take a photograph?
Yeah, it's like, do you look hot in a photograph?
Yeah. And then he shows up and he goes, that's not you in that photograph. And fucking, that's it. The date's over. But you
fucking filters
But you hooked up. Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's, like I said, I know a lot of people have met like people on there, but to me, it just seems like I wouldn't even fuck with it.
It's better to have a good circle of friends.
Even if I was single, I wouldn't fuck with it.
Yeah.
It seems like too much trouble, and it's just like,
yeah,
I don't see that working out. You know what I mean?
The reason why a lot of the younger people that I guess you were talking about where they don't do too well in clubs is because they grew up online looking on fucking screens. They don't have real good face-to-face communication.
Yeah, it's not their fault. It's just kind of the way that society
they can't dance, a lot of them.
And so they go to a club and they kind of flop at the club because it's face-to-face. You got to learn how to dance. You got to have good social skills.
Although I will say...
But you can develop those. Just because you don't have them now doesn't mean you can't develop them.
That at the clubs we go to, Abyss and Memento Mori, there are not so much dudes, but there are like just little packs of young girls.
Yeah.
And they usually come in a big pack.
And they're all single, a lot of them.
And they're also, a couple of them have boyfriends.
Yeah. Some of them have girlfriends.
They all some of them have girlfriends.
And they look fantastic.
And they all look fantastic. And they know everybody. Yep. Like, so they know, I mean, they do a lot of online shit too.
Yeah.
But they're good at face-to-face shit. And they're just in their 20s. So it's like, it's not everybody.
I question, were they as good as we were? Some of them are.
I don't know. I was pretty lame when I was younger, so I'm sure they're probably doing a lot better than I am at that age.
Most of them are single. That's the thing. And the women are outnumbering the men. The men aren't showing up. And a lot of the guys I'm hearing, they go, oh, I don't go to there because fuck that. They just, listen. No, you're giving up. You're shooting yourself in the dick. Go to the club.
If you
want to go to fucking meet the women, go hang out with the dudes that are there. Dance.
Yeah.
Have a fucking drink.
Yeah, you don't have to it's not a meat market.
It's not a meat market.
It's not like that.
What you're there for. You're there to
just
meet
hang out.
Everybody and hang out.
Like listen
to music.
As
Jen, man, she saw me before we were a couple. She saw how I operated. I wasn't there to pick up girls, but they were all on me. But I was out there just to make friends with everybody.
Yeah.
And to dance and to fucking have a good time. And there was rumors that I was a whore and this and that because that was all fucking hate from dudes that were trying to shoot me in the foot. But no, I was going on dates, but no more than anybody else.
No.
And they were just jealous because I looked good. I could dance.
Yeah, that's all it was.
And that was Jen said the first thing that fucking struck her is that I could dance. And I dressed cool.
And then you dress cool, yeah. Because
Yeah.
a lot of dudes don't bother.
Yeah.
Like it's better in the goth
Yeah.
scene than it is in the normie scene. I will give it that.
And you also said that I had all those female friends.
Yeah, that was another thing that stood out.
Yeah. And some of them were my exes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like nobody said anything bad about you, or nobody
Yeah.
said like everybody's like, yeah, he's a good dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like I said, I saw that you hung out with dudes and you hung out with girls and you weren't
Yeah.
creepy and
Yeah.
you know, you didn't seem like you were just constantly trying to fog on people or anything like that. You were
I
just
was
there hanging out.
Goal oriented. But my goal was not to get laid. My goal was to be fucking popular. And to know everybody. And to know what the fuck was going on. And then I became a club promoter.
Yeah.
Over time. Because I started to know all the DJs. But I just wanted to know everybody. And be on good terms with everybody.
Well, and we've been successful in that regard because everybody knows us.
Yeah.
And we don't have a bad reputation for, like I said, we're not creepy. We don't steal other people's boyfriends or girlfriends or anything like that. Like, we don't do anything like that. So we actually have a really good reputation in the scene. Like, everybody knows us.
And we're fair to everybody.
Yeah, we're not dicks to anybody. You know, well, unless they deserve it.
Well, some people have to go. Some people are destructive.
Yeah.
But that's not.
But that's very, very rare. And
Very,
really,
very
the
rare.
only time that's happened recently was like those motherfuckers that showed up and nobody knew them. Even. They were just kind of newbies.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't really do that.
Yeah.
They did that all on their own.
Yeah.
That we weren't even there when that happened.
You're right.
So it's like that wasn't our fault. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, because like I said, it's a fairly small scene, and most people know each other or know each other at one remove.
Yeah.
So it's like if you do some fucked up shit, everybody's gonna know about it pretty quickly.
And the thing is what I've been hearing in the young manosphere is they're always talking about looks and money and height and shit. No, that's not actually how it is when you go into the club scene and you get known. If you know what you're doing and you're cool about things. If you're cool and you get to know everybody over time, you will be known as being pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Okay? It just takes time, and you got to make friends with people. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just don't want to do that or don't want to put in the work.
It takes years.
You know?
Takes years.
Just like people don't want to put in the work to like try to look good
or to go to the gym or do this
or
and
anything like
it
that,
takes
or to
years.
get like cool outfits or.
But the thing is
learn to
it's only
dance
one
or
week
whatever.
at a time. You just get in the habits, and then the years go by quickly.
Yeah,
know?
especially the older, especially our age.
You get older, you just go very quickly. So it's just, you don't think of it as it takes years. You just think of it as doing it.
Yeah.
It's just part of your behavior.
Well, like I said,
behavior.
I think that people should focus more on that instead of just, I want to get a girlfriend. Like, don't think that way.
No, you just want to know everybody. I want to be friends with everybody and see what's
just
going
go
on.
and have a good time,
And
like
see what
in the
deal
now.
is.
Like,
you know,
if that happens,
it's like
it'll happen
international
later.
politics. You're dealing with other countries and shit. Fucking, it's a long.
It's the long game. You're playing the long game.
It's a long game.
And like I said, you can't even really be focused on that because honestly, I was just going. I wasn't really after I got divorced. I wasn't going to the club to like meet dudes. Like I did every now and then. And I was like, okay. But it's just
trying to have friends.
I was just trying to hang out with my friends and dance and have some drinks and just chill out.
Socialize.
You know, I wasn't aiming for anything. I was just like, I like this place and I'm hanging out here.
Yeah.
Like it's better than staying home Saturday night. You know what I mean? That's all I was doing. I wasn't really concerned about. I was like, if I meet somebody cool, if I don't meet somebody cool,
we
like
were
I
kind
didn't
of doing
care
that
either
at the
way.
same time as singles, and then we were all making friends with the same people, and then we're at parties and hanging out at fucking Tyson's house and fucking going to conventions and shit and going to fucking Universal Studios theme park and shit, and groups of fucking friends from the club.
Yeah.
You know, and fucking your looks really don't really matter because some of our friends are ugly as fuck, but man, everybody loves them.
I'm not going to ask you to be more specific.
Oh, some of our friends are ugly as fuck. Well,
Most
I
of
want to
them
say
are
they
not.
just look like something out of a horror movie. Fucking, well, you know, I don't want to say. I don't want to.
Don't say.
I ain't gonna say it, but
Don't
just
say it.
some of our. But the thing is that they had all the people that have fucking kind of become known, even the ones that don't look very good, are charismatic.
Yeah.
Which that changes the dynamic.
You don't need to be good looking if you have charisma.
You have to have a lot of charisma. Yeah. They.
Because there's something.
Yeah.
There's just something else. Like it's another.
They show up
quality.
and you're happy to see them.
Yeah.
And fucking then they're dancing and shit. You're talking and shit. You're getting drunk and shit. You're just happy to see them. Everybody loves them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have very much to do with beauty. They have a look. They're wearing a certain kind of, they're all in black. They look goth and shit like that. But they're not pretty or good looking or handsome.
But like I said,
they still end up being charismatic.
Yeah, it matters less and less.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not saying looks don't matter at all.
They do matter.
They do matter, but not as much as maybe some people think they do.
Yeah. When it comes to friends, it doesn't matter that much. It might to like girlfriends. You're gonna end up with somebody at your level, usually, or around your level. This is how it is. It's the law of nature. But you're hanging out with a bunch of hot motherfuckers who fucking love you. That's what they end up doing if they have charisma.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking one of the dudes that fucking I like him every time I see him. He's not even goth. He's like a fucking jock, and he's overweight. He's got a lot of money. He's an old dude, and he's fucking pervy as shit. But he's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of fucking funny. He's a funny old dude. And fucking wanted to. Now I'm gonna take you guys. He'd say we were gonna take us to Thailand.
He's gonna pay.
And he wanted to fuck a whole bunch of lady boys.
We were like,
okay. It's all right. All right.
If you're paying.
Well, you come with me. Come with me. He didn't want to go by himself. It's all right.
He wanted you to pick out some lady
We'll do a
boys.
show. He goes, I want you to pick out the lady boys for us. So, okay, I'll pick out a lady boy for you.
Like,
and then later on, this is another day, he goes, I want to be fucked in the ass by a lady boy. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah. She's got to be gorgeous with a big old dick and fuck me in the ass. This is a grown man. Right? I says, what do you want that for? He goes, because I've been fucking all these girls. I want to see what it's like. I says, that's not what it was like. You're gonna have to order. You're gonna have to get some old fat fag fuck you in the ass. And he goes, are you saying about old fuck? You say I'm old fat fag? I said, yeah. If you want to know what they're seeing and what they're experiencing, we're gonna get you an old fat fag fuck you in the ass. He's laughing. He's old and fat. He's not a fag, I guess. He's just a kinky bitch.
He is. It's like, and you never know because he looks.
You never know. He'll probably do anything. But the thing is that he's so weird that you can't really trust what he says because he says things to you to try to get a response.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
I'm just kind of like whatever.
He's perv maxing. He's perv.
Thank you.
He's perv maxing.
He's perv maxing. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't actually do any of this.
Oh, I don't know. He might. I kind of feel like he probably would.
Only if there were witnesses. If he's by himself, he probably wouldn't do it. But if somebody's watching,
if somebody's watching, he totally would.
He would totally would, to try to get some perv credit.
Yeah.
He's perv maxing.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
All right, so it's getting kind of late.
Down.
It's about 10:30. We went on for 3 hours. Hopefully the show wasn't too depressing for everybody. You know what I mean? I was kind of bummed out, like watching documentaries about this shit, like for the last couple of days.
Yeah.
The things I do for you people now, I don't really mind that much. It does bother me, but you know me, like I'll watch true crime all day, every day, and there's something wrong with me, I'm sure. I watched like 4 or 5 hours of true crime shit last night. And it was all unsolved stuff. So it was just like it wasn't even like a true crime show where like they figure out who did it at the end. These ones were all unsolved. So it's like you didn't even get the satisfaction at the end of knowing somebody got caught. You know what I mean? But yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap it up for this evening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. We will be back on Friday night. Probably be a shorter show because Abyss is Friday. So we'll probably have to get out of here about 9 o'clock. So I don't know, but we could still do an hour and a half on Friday. So hopefully you guys can join us for the Sidetrack show. We always like doing that. It's always super fun. So yeah, have a good rest of your evening, you guys. Have a good day tomorrow. And we will see you guys again for the Sidetrack show on Friday night.